Chapter 1091. After Gu Qingshan's group had entered the god of life's ruin, calming soul country, night had fallen. A faint shadow silently appeared from the back gate of the royal palace and quickly flew towards a certain direction. On the way, no one noticed the shadow's existence. The shadow walked through the streets and alleys, quickly arriving at a secluded part of the city and stood in front of Xian Ye's small house. The shadow paused briefly before heading towards the small house. Zzz. A transparent formation abruptly appeared and repelled the shadow. Who would have thought, placing a cultivation-type formation in the place you're staying, but do you really think something like that can stop me? The shadow muttered, then suddenly sped up and rushed forward. Bam! Using some sort of unknown method, the formation was destroyed. If Gu Qingshan was still in calming soul country, he would have noticed the destruction of the formation very quickly. He would have immediately rushed over. But now that he was inside the ruin, he had no idea what was happening outside. The shadow walked forward step by step, flashed in front of the door, and entered the house. The layout of the house hasn't changed at all. Xianye, are you still waiting for me to return? The shadow sighed and casually asked. He walked in front of the baby's cradle, dispelled the concealment technique, and revealed himself. It was the tall and handsome prince. The prince stared closely at the sleeping child and spoke with a gentle and calm voice. Xianye, look at how well our child has grown. His eyebrows and facial features are very similar to yours. Unbeknownst to the prince, Xianye's ghost was hopelessly standing in front of him, separated from him by the cradle. The ghost's eyes were filled with sorrow and pain, as if she had already seen through something. The prince continued. Xianye, this child is very good, I like him very much, I even wanted to remove your guardian status. Unfortunately, I later found out that this was a bloodline shackle. I couldn't do anything. That's right, I couldn't do anything. Saying so, the prince took out a luxurious dagger embedded with colorful gems from his sleeve. A child born from the combination of royal bloodline and guardian bloodline, if he lives past the age of 3, he will absorb the power of 2 members of the royal family. Only father and I remain in the royal family. Xianye, in this era, what does it mean to lose your power? You should understand that I don't want to be a cripple. Hearing that, Xianye's soul couldn't hold it in anymore and uttered a long string of words. But how could the words of ghosts be heard by the living? Yi Feili was not here. Of course, the prince couldn't hear him. However, he seemed to have thought of something. Perhaps this had always been a knot between him and Xianye. The prince looked at the child and whispered, Yes, I shouldn't have provoked you, and I shouldn't have had this child with you. But, who told me to like you? His voice became sentimental. Even my father feels a little pressured by such an excellent guardian like you. He allowed me to get along with you. I have no regrets. After all, I already had you. Even if you died and your child died, it wouldn't change that. Forgive me. After saying that, the prince exuded a murderous aura. He raised the dagger and fiercely stabbed the sleeping child. Clang! The long dagger stabbed into a layer of light. The light shielded the child. Before the prince could understand what was going on, the covenant had been fully activated. The covenant between the royal family and the Blade Edge Pledge. Arg! The prince screamed in fear and pain. No. Why are you a member of the Blade Edge Pledge? You're only 3 years old, you couldn't have signed a covenant on your own. The prince screamed in despair. He had violated the covenant and tried to kill a member of the Blade Edge Pledge. At the time, both Lola and Boss had seen this covenant and felt that it was very strict without any issues. Because if someone violated this covenant, they would immediately die. The prince fell to the ground as if someone was choking him. His mouth was wide open, but he couldn't say a single word. The light that protected the boy gradually expanded and enveloped him. The prince turned into a pile of bones inside the light. The light didn't fade. The bones slowly disappeared without a trace. The prince was dead. The boy was unharmed. From now on, the boy was the only royal descendant of calming soul country. Next to the boy, Xianya's gaze remained fixed on the prince until he died. She turned away and wiped the corner of her eyes. At another location, looking at the golden ring on Gu Qingshan's hand, Zhang Yongho doubtfully asked, "Just the ring alone isn't enough, we don't have the king's memories, so we wouldn't be able to sense it at all." Gu Qingshan smiled. "Do you really think there's a technique that would allow every member of the royal family to hold a certain memory at birth?" Hearing him ask that, Zhang Yongho hesitated again. After countless years, the weapons, treasures, and servants that the God of Life had buried here had all been destroyed. If that's the case, why would a single technique of the deity be able to last for over 100 million years and place a sealed memory in the minds of every member of the royal family? That's a bit ridiculous. Gu Qingshan continued. "This ring is the key to restraining the occultism spirit. As long as I wear it, the occultism spirit wouldn't be able to attack me. Can you guess what it's used for?" "You mean to say, that's right, it's actually this ring," Gu Qingshan replied. In his line of sight, a line of glowing text had already stopped there. The God of Life's Ring of Memories. This ring contains the information that the God of Life had set up. Only by arriving at the correct location would it activate and transmit the corresponding information. After reading through it, Gu Qingshan turned to everyone else, only to see that everyone had an indifferent expression on their faces. Gu Qingshan was surprised. "What kind of expression is that? Don't tell me you're not interested in the deity's ruin?" Yi Feili replied, "Treasures and what not, are we really not interested? Why do you say that?" Gu Qingshan asked. "We have Her Majesty Lola with us." "That's true," Gu Qingshan nodded and continued. "In truth, we already had a contract with the king. We'll help him investigate the ruin, and he'll help us fight against the 4 deities and obtain the 4 card fragments. That's why it's not easy for us to take anything from here. What we need to do next is to follow the information on the ring to the deepest part of the ruin and warp back." Everyone nodded. Lola appeared to be very excited. "That's great, this is a treasure trove left behind from over 100 million years ago. Even if we don't take it, it's still very interesting to take a look," Boss asked. "But first, what do we do with this ring after we leave?" "Give it back to the descendant of the God of Life," Gu Qingshan replied. At this point, Zhang Yongho seemed to have thought of something and appeared hesitant. "What's the matter?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Not only can my black cat find the way to the deepest part of the ruin, it can also find other directions," Zhang Yongho replied. "For example? Other ways to return. Why do you want to take other ways?" Gu Qingshan asked. Zhang Yongho cleared his throat and explained. "We ran into a void deity in the forest of corpse pillars, then an occultism spirit in this garden. Who knows what we'll run into later. If we risk our lives like this, we'll really die." Everyone nodded. Gu Qingshan went silent for a while, then asked, "Boss, what do you think?" Boss replied, "I'll only say one thing, it's very rare for an abyssal body to wander outside. Just now, I only offered this garden to the abyss and obtained the star firefly, so if we can obtain more abyssal bodies, we'll obtain even greater benefits." "What is a star firefly?" Gu Qingshan asked. Boss explained it to her. Gu Qingshan reacted the same way as Yi Feili and the others, also surprised. He suddenly recalled something and said, "Right, boss, I've always had a question that I couldn't find an answer to, and since you're here, I want to ask you. Go ahead." "I've always thought that the eternal abyss was a place, but after my recent understanding, I feel like it's a particularly advanced life form, so what exactly is it?" Boss considered his words a bit, then replied, "I can't tell you that, because an entity outside the abyss cannot know the true nature of the abyss unless what? Unless you attract the attention of the abyss, then pass the trial, join the abyss and obtain a unique abyssal body. Only at that point would you be qualified to know the truth of the abyss," Boss then explained. "Don't think that it's going to be easy. The magic dragon has spent over 10,000 years, but it still hasn't obtained its own abyssal body. It can only maintain its original appearance. Hearing this, Gu Qingshan suddenly recalled something that Lin once told her in the past. Right, Lin once told me that the abyss is observing me, Gu Qingshan explained. The faint smile on Boss's face disappeared, replaced by a surprised expression. Did she really say that? Chapter 1092. Did she really say that? Indeed, Boss pondered. If that's true, then it would be quite interesting. How so? It's hard to say for now, but since you've already gained the attention of the abyss, I suggest that we continue to explore the ruin. The reason? This ruin is a part of the abyss that the 7 deities split from, so we need to call upon the will of the abyss to return these parts, Boss continued to explain. The parallel world apocalypse is currently devouring the abyss. At this crucial moment, if we help the abyss retrieve its lost body, we'll actually be helping the abyss greatly. The will of the abyss will definitely descend and observe you again. Observe me again. Gu Qingshan smiled. Once raw, twice ripe, will the abyss assimilate me into the abyss just because I helped it? Boss replied. Not necessarily, but you have to trust me. This is definitely something that will bring you endless benefits, Gu Qingshan asked. Benefits? Like the star firefly in your hand? That's right, Boss's gaze passed through everyone here and spoke seriously. For all of us, this is a good thing. Gu Qingshan went silent. Everyone fell into thought. They've already encountered the void deity and the occultism spirit. No one knows what they'll run into next. Whether or not they should continue on this path. This is a matter of life and death. Yi Feili suddenly said. We're still too weak right now. If we can obtain powerful feedback, I think it's worth it for us to take this risk. Zhang Yongho thought for a bit, then also said. It's fine if we take a look, but we need to ensure our safety first. At this point, everyone turned to Lola. Even the void deity couldn't discover Lola. Her ability in this aspect had already been confirmed. Lola said proudly. You guys fight, leave the hide and seek to this queen. Gu Qingshan made the decision. Then we'll keep moving. Ing Hao asked the cat to lead the way. I'll use the ring to open the passage. Feili can listen to the sounds of all living things, so she'll be in charge of monitoring the surroundings. Lola will be in between us and prepare to open the umbrella. Boss and I will be ready to fight at any time. All right. Everyone answered. The black cat lay on the flower umbrella and looked around in the void. It extended its paw and pointed somewhere, saying, Meow. This way, Zhang Yongho said. The group continued to fly, flying diagonally above the chaotic streams of space. Dozens of minutes later. Meow meow meow. The cat meowed softly. Zhang Yongho translated. It said that it has arrived, but it doesn't know how to get in. Wait a moment. Gu Qingshan stepped forward, raised her hand, and slowly pressed towards the void. The golden ring glowed faintly. Gu Qingshan closed her eyes and began to receive the information from the ring. Boss walked forward, pulled the black trident off his back, held it in his hand, and cautiously looked around. A few moments later, Gu Qingshan opened her eyes. I know the way. This place requires a special incantation. He faced the void of space, and began to chant something in a low voice. The void of space parted. A ruined, dusty, and moss-covered stone passage appeared in front of everyone. Is this the body of the abyss? Gu Qingshan asked in a low voice. Yes, this is a passage made from the body of the abyss, Boss sighed. These divinities sure are resourceful. Stealing and hiding people's belongings is a real deal. Let's go. The group flew into the passage. The void of space behind them slowly closed up. No one else would be able to discover this hidden, insignificant secret passage within the vast space vortex. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Other than the faint sound of flowing water, there was only silence in the passage. The stench of decay that comes with the passage of time filled the entire space, causing everyone to hold their breath. Gu Qingshan released her inner sight to search deeper into the passage. There was nothing or anything else on the way. There was only a stone coffin surrounded by green vines at the end of the passage. Gu Qingshan stopped and rubbed the ring on her hand. The ring didn't react. Seems like we have to get closer to the coffin for the ring to send out new information. Let's go, Zhang Yongho said. Wait a minute, Yi Feili suddenly stopped everyone. What's the situation? Boss asked. I heard crying, it's at the end of the passage, Yi Feili said. The end of the passage? There's indeed a coffin there, but I don't hear anything, Gu Qingshan said. Everyone exchanged glances. Did you hear anything? No, what about you? I didn't either, seems like only Yi Feili heard it. If that's the case. Everyone slowly understood. That's obvious, what Yi Feili heard was the crying of a ghost. This place has been sealed off for almost 100 million years. What kind of existence was that crying ghost? Lola shrunk a bit, holding her umbrella in one hand and Gu Qingshan's sleeve with the other. Gu Qingshan, I'm a bit scared, she whispered. It's fine, it's just a battle. If you can't win, you don't need to fight, Gu Qingshan consoled her. Zhang Yongho thought for a bit, then took out a card. He threw it out. The card turned into a mass of white fog. A gray tiger appeared in front of everyone. The tiger opened its pair of green eyes and looked back and forth in the dark secret passage. Zhang Yongho, where are you? The tiger asked in a low voice. From the void of space, Zhang Yongho's voice resounded. I'm here. The tiger followed the voice and asked, Why did you summon me here? There's a wandering ghost ahead, help me take a look at what it's capable of. All right, but I have a very bad feeling about this place. After I use my ability, I'll leave immediately. Leave immediately. The gray tiger nodded satisfyingly. It turned around, stared at the dark passage with its green eyes and shouted, Ghosts! Immediately, two corpses wearing tattered robes appeared on each side of the tiger. One of them wielded a large blade. The other corpse was carrying a heavy hammer. Go to the end of the passage, kill anything you see, the tiger ordered. Receiving their orders, the two corpses staggered towards the end of the passage. The tiger nodded to Zhang Yongho, turned into a mass of white fog, and disappeared from the passage. Not too long later, the two corpses reached the end of the passage. They stood in front of the giant corpse coffin, raised their weapons, about to attack. The vines coiling around the coffin twitched. A green shadow flashed by. The two corpses disappeared without a trace. Their weapons fell to the ground and were caught by the vines. Like ice under the sun, they quickly melted and disappeared. Everything happened in just a few moments, as if nothing had happened, because all traces of the two corpses, including their weapons, had disappeared. That's a bit troublesome. Boss looked at the scene displayed on the Book of Prophesied Destinies and commented. It is indeed troublesome, Gu Qingshan agreed. Just now, they clearly saw that the vines were able to devour the two corpses, as well as their weapons. Within the infinite worlds, it was rare to see a creature that could eat anything, but when such a creature appeared, it would usually consume the world as its food. Such creatures were usually extremely terrifying. While they were thinking, they noticed some movement at the end of the passage. Two skeletons appeared in front of the coffin. They turned around and walked towards the group. Not only can it eat them, but it can also activate them for its own use, Gu Qingshan commented. That's right, that's even more troublesome, because you don't know what it has eaten, Boss also scowled. I'm just afraid that it might have eaten a deity's corpse, Gu Qingshan commented. The two of them went silent. The skeletons were slowly moving forward in the dark passage. They were looking around, observing everything in the passage. It was obvious that the monster had released them to investigate the situation in the secret passage. What do we do now? Make a decision, Zhang Yongho said. Gu Qingshan paused for a second. Boss, how long do you need to deliver this place to the abyss? He asked. About 10 seconds, why? Boss asked in return. Let's begin, Gu Qingshan said. Boss was stunned for a moment before coming to a realization. That's right. The monster can't see or discover us. The fact that it sent two skeletons to check the situation proved this point. And according to the contract, We can't take any treasures from the ruin. That's why. Why would we fight it? We can just offer this passage to the eternal abyss. As for the monster? There's only one thing it can do, and that's to find a new nest in the space vortex. But I need a total of 10 seconds. What if the monster unleashes an area attack? Boss asked. Gu Qingshan drew the earth sword and said, Leave it to me, a few million soul points. No matter how the monster attacks, it should be able to hold on for 10 seconds. Boss knelt down on one knee, pressed his hand on the ground, and shouted, Consciousness, descend! The entire passage began to tremble intensely. Noticing this, the two skeletons sped up their investigation. They were flying through the passage. Gu Qingshan silently calculated. They'll need another 7 to 8 seconds to reach this place. Then let's wait. He lowered his sword and silently waited. 7 seconds later, the two skeletons appeared from the darkness of the passage. At this point, Boss was still pressing his hand on the ground, continuing to summon the will of the abyss. Don't do anything, I'll do it, Gu Qingshan told the others. He silently watched the skeletons until they were only half a meter away from the group. Gu Qingshan raised his sword and lightly swung. The two skeletons were erased by the earth sword. All of a sudden, the coffin at the end of the passage erupted with countless green vines that filled the entire passage, attacking Gu Qingshan's group at a speed far faster than the skeletons. 3 seconds. Gu Qingshan silently counted. They'll arrive here in just 3 seconds. He raised the earth sword in front of his chest and muttered, Let's go together, or got it, the earth sword replied. Gu Qingshan abruptly activated his sword seal. Secret art, a torrent. Earth sword, Earth's choice. Blinding lightning sword phantoms filled the passage, flowing towards the end of the passage like a flood. Rapid sword phantoms. The wriggling vines, they clashed in the middle of the passage. Oh! The bodies of the vines slowly faded away under the light of the sword phantoms. The sword phantoms continued to flow forward until they reached the end of the passage and finally disappeared in front of the coffin. Yi Fei Li suddenly covered her ears. It's angrily roaring, it's going to attack with all its strength, Yi Fei Li reminded her. Ignore it, it's over. Saying so, Gu Qingshan put the earth sword away. Boss pulled his hand back from the ground and also said, That's right, there's no need to fight to the death, it's done. As soon as he said so, the entire passage disappeared without a trace. Everyone reappeared in the space vortex. Lola opened her umbrella and led the group to a new location. The coffin that was wrapped in vines fell down into the space vortex. It seems quite heavy, Zhang Yongho commented. I hope it can find a new home, Yi Fei Li commented. At this point, Boss's book of prophesied destinies appeared by itself and quickly flipped through the pages. What are you doing? Gu Qingshan asked. It's not me, it's the will of the abyss. It seems to have something to tell us, Boss replied. Everyone looked at the book of prophesied destinies, only to see Anna and Lin's faces appearing on the page. Baidu search 881 Chinese network yen. No advertising message. Chapter 1093. The Book of Prophesied Destiny flipped open. Everything that happened to Anna and Lin quickly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. They continued to move forward through a sea of flowers, finally found a flower with 36 petals, and entered the final location of the God of Death's inheritance. On Gu Qingshan's side, the king had struck the void of space with his scepter to find the path to the God of Life's inheritance from within, while Anna and Lin found the final location of the God of Death's inheritance within a sea of vibrant flowers. Life was hidden within the void, death was born within the vitality. The actions of the deities always contained a deeper meaning that others couldn't understand, even if the deities were already dead. As Gu Qingshan's group carefully observed Anna and Lin's movements, they found that even after countless years, the God of Death's inheritance was still relatively well preserved, at least unlike the God of Life's inheritance that attracted so many void monsters. But since it was a secret location created by the abyss, It had given birth to many unique entities over the past 100 million years. Lin protected Anna, slaughtered their way forward, and finally reached the god of death's inheritance. It was a pitch-black mountain. At this point, Lin was already heavily wounded. Anna had also used up all of her strength. They seemed to have sensed something, so without resting for too long, they hurriedly began to climb the black mountain. The book of prophesied destiny flipped to another page and displayed another scene. A monster was falling from the void of space. It had a giant gray maw with a pair of long whiskers on both sides. At the end of each whisker was a human face. Its body was made from countless corpses, constantly wriggling like a snake. Both sides of its body were filled with human hands, at least a few thousand of them, wriggling in the void of space in an attempt to stabilize its body. The monster roared and rolled, but couldn't resist this immense force at all. The monster abruptly crashed into a sea of flowers and heavily crashed to the ground. It struggled for a bit, then turned around and looked around this new place. Very quickly, it found a unique flower. The monster began to think of a way to open the world inside the flower. A line of text appeared on the page. This void deity will open the god of death's flower world in 20 minutes, Gu Qing-shan. Zhang Young-ho. Boss pondered. If that's the case, the god of life's ruin and the god of death's inheritance shouldn't be too far away. Everyone thought about it and nodded in agreement. Lola glanced at Gu Qing-shan and Zhang Young-ho's expressions and said, "This seems to be the result of someone saying it's okay, and the other person doing it." Gu Qing-shan and Zhang Young-ho face-bombed. At that time, he only wanted to send the monster flying so that it would not follow them into the garden. Who knew that it would be blasted to the Grim Reaper next door? This kind of thing couldn't be predicted at all, so who could be blamed? The book of prophesied destiny flipped another page. Lines of small words appeared on the pages of the book. Due to the return of a portion of the abyssal body, the power of the eternal abyss has been strengthened. The apocalypse of the parallel world had already noticed the changes in the abyss and discovered the source of the power. Yes, the ruins of the god of death and the god of life have been exposed. The apocalypse of the parallel world has activated its power and is currently charging towards the god of death's inheritance and the god of life's ruin. The apocalypse of the parallel world has enough power to destroy both the ruins and the inheritance, estimated to be completed in 19 minutes. After everyone finished reading these lines of words, they couldn't help but look at each other. Gu Qing-shan asked, "Boss, why did the abyss suddenly send us this information?" Boss didn't say anything and simply pointed at the book of prophesied destiny. New lines of text appeared on the book. Frowny face. The eternal abyss has foreseen the various outcomes of death for you and the others, and has found the only way for you and the others to survive. The eternal abyss has created a new ring of vow for Lin, borrowing the unique power of the book of prophesied destiny to directly send this ring of vow to your location. Following this, the abyss can only send a single person to the god of death's residence. One of you must bring the ring of vow to meet up with Lin. Attention, you must split into 2 groups. One person will deliver the ring, the others will be led by the abyssal king to the end of the god of life's ruin. That place is safe. You must summon the power of the abyss there to help you resist the apocalypse and return the lost abyssal body to the abyss. The time is of the essence. For the sake of survival, you must act immediately. After all the text had been displayed, it disappeared from the book of prophesied destiny. A pillar of light abruptly appeared from below the boundless void of space and struck the book of prophesied destiny. The book of prophesied destiny was enveloped by the light and began to tremble. "What's going on?" Yi Feili asked. Boss explained. The eternal abyss is currently traversing through space to deliver the ring. As soon as he said so, the light on the book of prophesied destiny became even brighter. A ring with a black spider carved on it silently laid on top of the book of prophesied destiny. Lin's ring of vow. Boss looked at the group and said, "I must stay behind and summon the power of the abyss at the end of the ruin. Which one of you will deliver the ring?" Gu Qing-shan waved her hand and put the ring away. The intense light moved away from the book of prophesied destiny and focused on his body. "I'll go," he looked at Boss and said. Boss nodded. Lola rushed forward and was about to say something, but Gu Qing-shan took off the golden ring and put it in her hand. Gu Qing-shan smiled. "Lola, your ability can bring everyone to the end of the ruin. Didn't you want to see the treasures of this ruin? Go." Lola hurriedly said. "But you," Gu Qing-shan waved her hand, gesturing for her to listen to her. "The situation on their side is dangerous and complicated. You don't know how to fight, so if you run into an enemy with an AoE attack, your life will be in danger. Go, carefully bring everyone to the end of the ruin. That way, we'll be able to escape separately and meet up again." Lola bit her lip. The words she wanted to say got stuck in her throat, then scoffed and said, "Gu Qing-shan, don't you dare die, otherwise I'll have to think of a way to find your soul within the boundless light." Gu Qing-shan smiled and softly replied, "Don't worry." Boom! The light enveloped him as he shot into the sky, quickly disappearing into the distance. In just one breath's worth of time, the light had already disappeared into the depths of the space vortex, unable to be seen again. Lola blankly stared at the distant darkness, unable to say anything. Boss said, "Don't worry, this brat is a cunning one, and he's the strongest among us. If he can't do it, then no one else can." Lola put the golden ring on her finger and muttered, "That's right, if even he can't do it, then no one else can. Rather than worrying about him, it's better to finish what we're about to do, that way he won't have to worry about us in the future." "Ahaha, that's right, let's go. Let's go." Gu Qing-shan. Chapter 1094. The Space Vortex. A gigantic tentacle abruptly reached out from the darkness, attempting to grab a certain flickering dot of light. As the tentacle was about to stop the dot of light and was about to reach it, it was pierced through by the dot of light. The dot of light quickly went away. The gigantic tentacle burned, withered, and slowly turned to ash. Within the darkness, a certain monster uttered a resounding roar of pain. This roar alone caused an intense storm to rage within the void of space. Although the monster felt pain, it didn't chase after the dot of light. It noticed that it was the power of the abyss. If it tried to chase after it, that power would completely tear it apart. The monster turned around without hesitation and hurriedly fled in the opposite direction. At another location, the tiny dot of light left a long trail behind it at an unimaginable speed, traveling far in the blink of an eye without being affected at all. Gu Qing-shan was inside the light. He stroked the spider ring in his hand and silently pondered. Is Lin's abyssal form still a spider this time? Gu Qing-shan's gaze fell into the darkness in front of him. There were only 2 lines of glowing text on the war god UI frowny face. This is a high-tier abyssal form. You must obtain the corresponding authority in order to learn the details of this abyssal form. The owner of this abyssal form is Lin, a human martial artist. Gu Qing-shan scowled. Could a single ring be enough to turn Lin into an abyssal monster? And the same goes for Boss. He looks completely normal, even giving off a bit of a demi's presence, but he's the Abyssal King. Then, what exactly is the Eternal Abyss? Gu Qing-shan's thoughts turned, then temporarily tossed this question aside and focused on a more pressing matter. The apocalypse is about to destroy the god of death's place of inheritance. The void deities will also arrive at that place soon. I have to deliver the ring into Lin's hands before that happens. I can't waste even a single second. Otherwise, whether it was Anna, Lin, or himself, they would all die. Right now, I can only hope that the power Lin obtained from the ring is strong enough to resist this desperate situation. This isn't a good feeling at all. Gu Qing-shan smirked mockingly and held the ring tightly. He continued to fly forward. All of a sudden, a strange feeling emerged from his heart, then quickly disappeared. As if he had been glanced at by something strange, even the monster's probing did not give him such a strange feeling. What was watching him? Gu Qing-shan thought in confusion. At this moment, that feeling appeared again. A strange yet familiar feeling rose in his heart. Divine will. That's right, this was the feeling of being scanned by divine will. Gu Qingshan became vigilant. There were actually cultivators in this place? Was he a friend or foe? Gu Qingshan released her inner sight and quickly scanned her surroundings. A familiar voice suddenly sounded in his sea of consciousness. I can only contact you within this range. Please respond to the summon immediately. I'll say it again, please respond to the summons immediately, or it will be too late. Gu Qingshan was shocked. This voice was. He didn't have much time to think. He had already sensed some sort of summoning. This was a call that transcended everything, a fundamental law that came from all world. This was the advancement of a cultivator. It's the wind tribulation. No, since it's this sound, it should be the water tribulation. Very well. I've always been a person with a sense of propriety. If they're summoning me at a time like this, it must be something serious, Gu Qingshan silently thought and responded to the summon. Instantly, time seemed to have stopped. Gu Qingshan's body silently disappeared from the cluster of light. Faint light. Gu Qingshan noticed that she was traveling through countless faint lights. Time slowly became visible. The light grew brighter and brighter, illuminating her surroundings. Gu Qingshan found herself standing on an endless stretch of water. The surface of the water was as smooth as a mirror, reflecting Gu Qingshan's figure. The sky above was nothing but a silver void. The entire world was silent, devoid of life, no movement. Only a single person stood in front of Gu Qingshan. It was himself. That's right, this was a water tribulation. During a water tribulation, one must challenge themselves from various parallel worlds and win in order to overcome this tribulation. Gu Qingshan's inner sight scanned through the other party and said, It seems you're preparing to break through to Void Revolution Realm, but I really can't imagine how you managed to lock onto my world and coincidentally find me. The other Gu Qingshan smiled and explained, Truthfully, I was asked to do this by someone else, entrusted? Gu Qingshan didn't understand. That's right, the one who entrusted me to do this was still one of us, but it was a relatively younger version of us, the other Gu Qingshan replied. Gu Qingshan scowled. Please explain a bit more clearly. Because I'm currently in my own world, I'm currently facing an extremely difficult situation, so I need to know why you and him summoned me here, the other Gu Qingshan replied. When you faced your tribulation, I participated in your water tribulation and received a supersized scripture from you. That's why I was able to break through to Void Revolution Realm so quickly. Gu Qingshan froze. Which me are you? He asked. I have a World's Apocalypse Online, single-player mode, the other Gu Qingshan replied. Gu Qingshan was surprised. Indeed, I met this version of myself during the water tribulation. The one who asked me to do this actually met you before. That was when you and I were young. During your water tribulation, I also received a supersized jade slip from you. But he was still too young and hadn't reached Void Revolution Realm, so he couldn't summon you. That's why he asked me to summon you here no matter what. Gu Qingshan carefully thought about it and quickly remembered this. During the water tribulation, I once met a younger version of myself. That younger version of Gu Qingshan wasn't able to obtain even a single sword scripture. This is very similar to me in my past life. At the time, I also asked him to memorize all the scripture contents on the supersized jade tag. Gu Qingshan pondered for a bit, then asked in surprise, Could it be that he can now travel through parallel worlds? The other Gu Qingshan replied, No, he can't, but I don't know if it's because he received your supersized jade tag or because he had some sort of fortuitous encounter, but he awakened a very unique thaumaturgy. What thaumaturgy? Talking to myself, you call that a thaumaturgy? Wait a minute, you mean, indeed, by paying a certain price, he was able to use inner sight to find his parallel world self and communicate with them. But not for a long time. So you've always been in contact with each other? That's right, he was restricted by the world he came from, so he couldn't tell you anything, so he told me a lot of things. Gu Qingshan was a bit confused. He can't tell me, but he can tell you? He asked. The other Gu Qingshan nodded and asked in return, can you guess why? Gu Qingshan's thoughts turned a bit, then her expression changed. The world they came from had sealed off all information, not allowing their people to reveal any information to our world. In other words, their world was the one that fell into our eternal abyss. That's right, as expected of myself, the other Gu Qingshan praised. He continued. He used an unimaginable method to help me lock onto you, and asked me to bring you some information. Gu Qingshan slowly nodded. I can't tell myself because I'm restricted. But I won't be affected if I tell other parallel worlds. That's why the younger Gu Qingshan had the infinite worlds solo. Gu Qingshan relayed the information to me. How unimaginable. I didn't think the parallel world that fell into the eternal abyss would be the parallel world I came from when I was younger. What exactly is it? Gu Qingshan asked. The other Gu Qingshan put one hand up and opened it. In 5 breaths worth of time, you will arrive at the God of Death's mountain of inheritance. As soon as you arrive, you will immediately face the attack of a high-leveled causality weapon, an attack specifically designed to deal with you. You must quickly think of a solution, otherwise you will be killed on the spot. Gu Qingshan was shocked. Countless thoughts flashed through her mind. If the information I received is correct, as soon as I arrive at the God of Death's mountain of inheritance, I will face the attack of a high-leveled causality weapon. Causality is an extremely powerful mystic-type power, so using it against me is like using a cannon to kill an ant. I can be killed easily. No wonder the younger Gu Qingshan was in such a hurry to inform me. But causality also has a limitation. Regardless of what kind of causality it is, it can only be established under the premise that it matches the nature of things. During a single causality attack, if 2 laws of the same level contradict each other, the causality will be broken. For example, the causality lifeform, a star firefly, can choose a living being to die together with it. But if it chose a wandering soul, then this causality wouldn't be able to be established. Because wandering souls aren't living beings, they are souls in a dead state. This goes against the causality of the firefly, which is why the firefly can't kill wandering souls. Then, how should I deal with this attack? While thinking about this, Gu Qingshan asked, do the people who attacked me know who I am? No, they only know that you are a reinforcement sent by the abyss, but they don't know who you really are on the other side. Gu Qingshan continued. When you and I were young, we also received orders to activate that causality weapon under the God of Death's inheritance peak. But remember this well, he couldn't tell you anything, and you definitely couldn't expose yourself. Gu Qingshan nodded. Thank you for the information. I understand now. The other Gu Qingshan smiled and asked, do you have a solution? I do. Very well, then give me a test. Receive this strike of mine. Gu Qingshan wielded her sword and slowly exchanged blows with the other party. Very well, I believe you've passed my test, he said. The laws of the world move. Since he personally admitted that the other party had passed his test, his mission was complete and he would soon return. The other Gu Qingshan nodded. Do your best, try your best to survive, Gu Qingshan replied. You also need to quickly become stronger. The spread of the apocalypse cannot be stopped. Perhaps one day we will be able to fight side by side. The two of them exchanged glances and nodded. Gu Qingshan disappeared from the water tribulation. In the blink of an eye, he had returned to the space vortex. Apparently it didn't take any time at all. He was still inside the cluster of light, heading towards the God of Death's mountain of inheritance. 5 breaths worth of time. What awaited him was a multi-person causality weapon. Without hesitation, Gu Qingshan drew the 6 Paths Great Mountain sword and quickly communicated with Shanu through inner sight. 3 breaths worth of time. A gate made entirely of light appeared from the void of space in front of him. Shanu activated, mystery of all beings equal to take Gu Qingshan's appearance. Gu Qingshan's body shook a bit, then turned into a small insect and landed on Shanu's shoulder. One final breath. Shanu wielded the Chow-En sword and went through the Gate of Light, the god of death's mountain of inheritance. At the foot of the mountain, a screen of light appeared. Gu Qingshan had appeared in this world. At the same time, a voice shouted, "Activate!" Chapter 1095. Activate! Someone shouted in a low voice. In the blink of an eye, three things happened at the same time. Firstly, a black snake and a white snake suddenly appeared. They coiled around Gu Qingshan, rose up from his feet, and quickly coiled around his body. Secondly, Gu Qingshan raised his sword and thrust it upwards, aiming straight for his own shoulder. Thirdly, a small insect on his shoulder disappeared. This was shadow shift. In the blink of an eye, an old man suddenly appeared on Gu Qingshan's shoulder. The sword pierced through the old man's body, twisted, then split from the middle. The old man was cut in half. Ah, save! It wasn't until he was killed that the old man screamed in pain. From his voice, it was clear that he was the one who gave the order to attack. Unfortunately, he couldn't make any more sounds. What a fast strike! Gu Qingshan looked around, only to see that there were cultivators all around him, completely surrounding him. Gu Qingshan raised his hand, about to attack again. But the black and white snakes had already fully entangled him. The two snakes suddenly transformed into a young girl dressed in black and a young girl dressed in white, and they slowly sank into his body. This caused Gu Qingshan to feel extremely uncomfortable, so he stopped for a bit. Another person stepped out from the crowd and laughed. Twin Snakes of Impermanence is the 5th-ranked divine skill in the world. We can use his death to revive Elder Chong. Being entangled by the two girls, Gu Qingshan couldn't move at all. Being struck by Twin Snakes of Impermanence, there was no way he could escape. After watching for a few moments, the surrounding cultivators slowly calmed down and carefully observed this cultivator. Their voices rose again. "Take a look at this person, doesn't he look like Gu Qingshan? His eyes seem to be injured. He's a bit too old, but their appearances really do look like him." Everyone was talking at once. They slowly turned their gazes towards one of their companions, the young Gu Qingshan. At this point, Gu Qingshan, who was struck by Twin Snakes of Impermanence, suddenly disappeared. He turned into a long sword. The body of the sword was cool like autumn water. He grasped the hilt of the sword. The length of the sword was several inches longer than ordinary swords, but it did not seem thin at all. Instead, it possessed an indescribable sharpness. The black and white concubines circled around the sword once, then suddenly let out a scream filled with pain, turned back into two snakes, and rushed into the sky, disappearing without a trace. The 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword. Divine ability, immortal. Divine ability, law break. Impossible, someone exclaimed. Then, the long sword was held in someone's hand. Gu Qingshan. This time, it was the real Gu Qingshan, but her eyes were covered with a layer of black cloth. The long sword in his hand let out a clear female voice. "Young master, I'm the Yellow Spring Sword. Their causality divine skill doesn't work on me." Thank you for your hard work." Gu Qingshan responded, sheathed her sword, and looked at someone. Before he appeared, the mountain breeze was already blowing gently. The young Gu Qingshan felt the wind, looked around, and gradually understood. Aside from himself, everyone else was frozen in place. These people only stared at Gu Qingshan like statues, completely silent and unmoving. Gu Qingshan looked at his younger self and said, "Thank you." The young Gu Qingshan took a step back, pointed at himself, and said, "I can't say anything." He made a gesture of cutting his neck. His meaning was clear. "There's a seal on my body, I can't communicate or I'll die." Gu Qingshan naturally understood. If that wasn't the case, why would the other party have the parallel world Gu Qingshan summon me there? In truth, the other party had only told him a single thing through inner sight. He had to answer the summon. This wasn't related to the parallel world that fell into the eternal abyss, but rather another parallel world. It was most likely because of this connection that he was allowed to say it. Gu Qingshan pondered. So strict that you can't even reveal a single piece of information? The young Gu Qingshan looked at him without saying a word. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then asked, "Just now you said can't say, so you can say those words?" The young Gu Qingshan opened his mouth again, speaking with a heavy tone. Can't say, although he couldn't say it, he had already said it. Such a statement and tone represented another layer of meaning. Affirmation. Gu Qingshan was a bit excited. His mind quickly turned, then asked again. Besides can't say, I'm guessing you definitely can't say don't know. The young Gu Qingshan froze for a bit, then a hint of a smile appeared in his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. He said this to express that Gu Qingshan was wrong. Gu Qingshan clapped his hands and cheerfully said, Very well, then we'll talk like this. Can't say means can't say, but it's very likely to be true. Actually, it means affirmation. Don't know usually means don't understand. But as the two of them talked, it gained another layer of meaning. Negating his words. The young Gu Qingshan's answer of can't say and don't know didn't violate the restraints on his body. But these two words, in the current situation, represented yes and no. With yes and no, the conversation could proceed. Gu Qingshan put up a finger and asked, First question, you can exchange information with the people of our world, yes? The young Gu Qingshan replied, I can't say. This meant affirmation. Is that so? Then the rules should be, you can talk to us normally, but you can't reveal your identity or the matters of your world, correct? I can't say, is the fighting strength of your world only at the level of these people? I don't know. This was negation. In other words, they also have a very powerful fighting force. If there are more powerful people here, why didn't they send more powerful people here? Is it because they're fighting against the apocalypse, or because they've succumbed to the apocalypse? I can't say, I don't know. Understood, half of you have succumbed to the apocalypse, while the other half are still fighting against it, correct? I can't say, are you completely hostile towards us? I can't say, I don't know. I can't say, I don't know. It's very complicated, I can't explain it clearly right now, is it? I can't say, very well, now I want to know, other than killing the people of the abyss, you must have some other mission to accomplish here, correct? I can't say, this place is the land of inheritance. There are 3 things you can do. The first is to obtain the Death God's inheritance, the second is to destroy the Death God's inheritance, and the third is to destroy the body of the abyss. So you're here to destroy the body of the abyss? I don't know. You're here to destroy the Death God's inheritance? I don't know. So you're here to obtain the Death God's inheritance, which means some of you have already gone to that mountain, correct? I can't say. The people you sent there must be stronger than the 2 people who were supposed to receive the inheritance from our world, correct? The younger Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and replied, I can't say. What's the current situation? Are they fighting? I can't say. Gu Qingshan felt tense. They're already fighting. Lin is heavily wounded. Anna is also exhausted. Wouldn't it be suicide for them to fight against enemies from a parallel world right now? Gu Qingshan didn't ask any further and simply said, Go, run for your life, leave the rest to me. The younger Gu Qingshan looked at him, took out a formation plate and activated it. The two of them clasped their fists at each other. The younger Gu Qingshan was enveloped by the formation's light and disappeared from Gu Qingshan's sight. After he disappeared, Gu Qingshan's killing intent surged. The gentle mountain breeze abruptly turned into intense sword-infused wind that swept across the ground. Within the sword-infused wind, all the cultivators there exploded into a mist of blood that slowly faded away within the rampaging sword-infused wind. It turns out that as soon as Gu Qingshan used Shadow Shift, he turned back from an insect and silently activated the Tai sword array. These cultivators weren't very strong, Only the elder leading them was a 3,000 worlds realm cultivator like him. That's why Gu Qingshan asked his younger self where the truly powerful people were. Gu Qingshan turned around and released his inner sight to scan the Black Mountain. That was the mountain of the Death God's inheritance, towering, lofty, and endless. Climbing this mountain would require a lot of effort, a lot of danger, and a lot of time to find Anna and Lin. But there was no time. Anna and Lin were currently fighting against enemies, and the enemies were stronger than them. Gu Qingshan didn't hesitate and grabbed the Earth Sword from the void of space. The Earth Sword's heavy mountainous voice resounded. "There isn't enough time to slowly search. What do you intend to do?" "Sanctuary," Gu Qingshan replied. "How many times?" the Earth Sword asked. Sanctuary was the Earth Sword's thaumaturgy, which allowed the Earth Sword to increase its weight to 1,001 times heavier than the enemy it was facing. 1,001 times, Gu Qingshan activated his sword seal and muttered, "If the mountain doesn't come, then I'll flatten the mountain." Chapter 1096. Drip drip. Blood flowed. Lin was covered in blood, holding a corpse in her hand. She casually tossed it forward. The corpse drew an arc in the air, and landed on top of the pile of corpses. Another one was killed. Lin wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and assumed a defensive stance. She was like a sturdy boulder. Although she was silent, she blocked the group of cultivators for Anna. They were a group of powerful cultivators. Due to their fear of Lin's strength, they attacked in batches, taking turns to wear down Lin's strength. But Lin couldn't pursue them too far, because she had to watch over Anna's surroundings to ensure that she wouldn't get hurt. This kind of battle was truly frustrating, but it couldn't be helped. On this mountain of inheritance of the God of Death, the battle was slowly coming to an end. Lin no longer had the strength to stop these cultivators from approaching. While Anna stood on the altar behind her, her body silently hovering in the air, wielding a long black scythe in her hand. Her eyes were closed as she chanted something, seemingly performing a unique ritual. She still hadn't completed the inheritance of the God of Death. In front of the two girls, an old man stepped out from the group of cultivators. "What an admirable martial arts realm and technique! This old man has observed you for half a day and learned a lot. Once this old man returns to seclusion, my cultivation will surely increase by another level." The corner of Lin's mouth twitched a bit and mocked. "Learned a lot? You don't even dare to fight and only know how to send your subordinates to their deaths. All of your comprehension is fake." The old man's expression slowly turned grim. "Indeed, as the leader, as the strongest cultivator, I didn't dare to act myself because I foresaw how powerful the other party was. This is indeed a disgrace to my reputation." The old man silently cursed, but didn't show it on his face and clapped his hands. A cultivator came forward to report. "She's boss, according to my senses. She only has 5% of her stamina left. Her wounds are severe, unable to fight with her full strength." The old man smiled as if victory was already in his grasp. "Female martial artist, although you are about to die, you can still learn a few things from this matter. You can say it with a single phrase. A single person cannot fight against the many." Hearing that, Lin calmly replied, "Death is the final destination of a warrior. I'm not surprised at all." She raised her hands, forming a fist with one hand and a palm with the other. Her presence abruptly changed. "Absolute!" she roared, and a white light surged from her body. Beneath her feet, the entire mountain peak seemed to be gripped by some kind of extremely powerful force, trembling incessantly. Such an obvious phenomenon caused the cultivators to take a few steps back. Lin maintained her imposing manner and secretly paid attention to her back. Unfortunately, Anna's eyes were still closed, as if she was communicating with the altar. Lin silently sighed, retracted her attention, and looked at the cultivators in front of her. There was really no other way. As far as she could see, there was no one on the mountain. She was the only one facing these enemies. She shouted again, "Come, die!" The cultivators looked at each other, not knowing what to do. This woman's attacks were vicious, and her methods were endless, so no one dared to lower their guard. The cultivator from before shouted, "The one with the boss, she's going all out, this is real, and it will be her last attack." The old man retreated behind everyone without hesitation. What a joke, this was a fight to the death, it would cost their lives. The old man anxiously shouted, "All of you, attack! Everyone, share her attack equally. There won't be a problem." "Yes." The cultivators all replied. They all charged forward. The distance between the two sides was quickly shrinking. Lin's presence once again rose, preparing to die. All of a sudden, the ground trembled. Everyone cautiously stopped moving, even Lin was on high alert. Because this time, it wasn't just a slight tremble. The entire mountain was shaking. What happened? What did she do? The old man loudly shouted. "I don't know, sir, it wasn't her this time," the other cultivator hurriedly replied. While the two of them were talking, the ground once again shook intensely. Everyone's bodies began to fall, then abruptly stopped. This time, the cultivators all sensed a certain truth. The entire Black Mountain was sinking. "That's impossible, we've all tried, every single rock on such a huge mountain is incredibly sturdy, almost capable of being used as a weapon," the old man muttered. The Black Mountain continued to sink. In a very quick and noticeable manner, causing everyone to fall into panic. A mountain couldn't just disappear into thin air. So what exactly happened? Lin took a few steps back to better protect Anna. Seeing that, the cultivators didn't try to attack. Because the most important thing right now was to understand the situation. Very quickly, everyone sensed, the entire mountain was no longer violently trembling. It was as if after several times of sinking, the mountain had already grasped the technique of sinking, silently and skillfully descending. A few moments later, the speed at which the mountain was descending continued to increase. The ground slowly appeared in everyone's vision. "Elder, look!" the cultivator shouted. The old man hurriedly looked towards the direction he was pointing. At once, everyone looked towards the plain on the ground, only to see a cultivator with a black cloth covering his face standing there, wielding a sword in one hand and swinging it to create a blinding blur. He looked rather relaxed and at ease. Every time he struck out with his sword, there would be a whistling afterimage. The afterimages of sword chi struck the Black Mountain one after another, quickly shaving off a layer of the mountain. The mountain didn't tilt due to the sword chi strikes, nor did a part of it collapse while the other part remained intact. Due to the speed of the sword chi strikes, the entire mountain was silently and evenly descending. The whole mountain was cut down by the sword shadows, and it fell down quickly and evenly. Under everyone's observation, other than the altar where Anna was standing, the entire mountain had been shaved off. Apart from the altar where Anna was, the rest of the mountain had been flattened. Everyone was now standing on the ground. It was now that the man with the black cloth covering his face sheathed his sword. He cracked his neck a bit, propped the sword on his shoulder, then took out a bottle of liquor and gulped it down. After a few gulps, the man put the bottle away and spoke with an apologetic tone. "My apologies, because I've been shaving for a while, my throat is a bit thirsty." "That's good, I'm finally done," he spoke as if what he just shaved was a fruit, not a mountain of divinity's inheritance. All of the cultivators were momentarily at a loss for words upon seeing his actions. "Elder," the cultivator seemed to want to say something. The old man raised his hand and gestured for him to stop. The old man spoke with a serious tone. "Such swordsmanship, using a single sword to fuse with all swords, he has most likely surpassed the realm of a sword saint, please show some respect." He clasped his fist towards the other party through the crowd. "This humble one is Blue Rain Sect's elder Yao Wu Chi, may I ask who you are?" The man also clasped his fist and replied, "By Hua Sect, Gu Qing Shan, why have you come here, sir?" "To ask a single thing, ah? We don't know each other, so what is it?" "Cultivation isn't easy," Please take care of your lives and leave this place immediately." The old man squinted his eyes and glanced at the other side. Lin was still standing there without saying a word. But she seemed to be unable to suppress the smirk on her face. "So it's one of them." The old man scoffed. "Damn it. It took so much effort to use human lives to exhaust that female martial artist's power. Do I really have to give up just because of a sword cultivator? This sword cultivator's swordsmanship might be impressive, but his cultivation is a bit low, so he can't stop us all. Kill him, even if that female martial artist attacks at the same time. It would only cost 7 to 8 more lives." After a bit of estimation, the old man had an idea. He coldly asked, "If we don't retreat, what are you going to do?" At this point, the cultivators naturally understood what was going on, so they all gathered their presents and prepared to attack. Standing in front of them, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but smile. He opened his mouth and muttered, "Then please die, sir. Ah? You want to kill me?" The old man stood behind the crowd and smirked. Supernatural phenomena appeared. A black snake and a white snake suddenly appeared. They coiled around the old man, rose from the bottom of his feet and quickly coiled around his body. The two snakes then turned into a black-clothed girl and a white-clothed girl, slowly slipping into the old man's body. No, twin snakes of impermanence. This is our divine skill. That's impossible. Chapter 1097. Twin Snakes of Impermanence. The old man's fearful voice stopped abruptly as if it had been cut off. As the commander of this operation, he was originally hiding behind everyone else, calmly planning everything, but he was suddenly struck by a divine skill. The 5th strongest divine skill in the world. After being struck by this, no matter how much he tried to defend himself, he wouldn't be able to escape death. In front of everyone, a black-clothed girl carrying a green jade fishing rod on her shoulder flew out from the old man's body. At the bottom of the fishing rod, the black hook lightly pulled and hooked the old man's soul out. The black-clothed girl's figure fluttered as she flew towards the sky. The old man's soul struggled and screamed, but couldn't do anything but get hooked by the hook, unable to utter a single sound as he was taken away. As soon as the black-clothed girl left, the white-clothed girl came out from the old man's body. The white-clothed girl held a blue-glazed lamp in her hand, silently walked in front of Gu Qingshan, and offered him the glazed lamp. Inside this glazed lamp, there was a bright glow of life that exuded boundless power like a bright pearl. Gu Qingshan had already been warned by the jade pendant Adorable, so he already knew what was about to happen. He reached out a finger, dipped it into the life light in the green glazed lamp, then pointed it at Lin's direction. Black-clothed to hook the soul, white-clothed to return life. The white-clothed girl was waiting for a person's soul to leave their body, then steal their life force for the caster to use. Just as the cultivators said when they ambushed Gu Qingshan, they wanted to use this twin snakes of impermanence to take Gu Qingshan's life, then revive Elder Chang, who was killed by Gu Qingshan. Unfortunately, they didn't know that Gu Qingshan had gone through countless dangers to return to the past several 10,000 years ago, obtaining the supreme artifact of heaven and earth, the jade pendant Adorable. Even more so, they didn't know that as a living person, Gu Qingshan entered Huang Quan alone, finally being recognized by the sword of Huang Quan, obtaining the power of invincible and lawbreaker. No one would be able to repeat what he had done. Therefore, the twin snakes of impermanence could not be used against him at all. Instead, it could be used by him. As Gu Qingshan pointed with her finger, the life light that was originally in the azure glaze lamp scattered into specks of light, broke through the limit of distance, and completely entered Lin's body. Lin closed her eyes to sense it, then smiled at Gu Qingshan and said, "I've recovered a bit." Gu Qingshan nodded. "Very good, the old man's cultivation is not bad. His life force can help Lin recover from some of her injuries." Actually, Gu Qingshan already knew that. Lin had been guarding Anna, not daring to go too far away, afraid that someone would sneak up on Anna and injure her. Sometimes, when she managed to gain the upper hand, Lin would have no choice but to retreat and think of a way to resolve the situation as long as someone else attacked Anna. Otherwise, with her strength, there was no need for her to be confined to a position near Anna and passively take a beating. At this time, seeing that the spell had been cast, the white-clothed girl put away the glaze lamp and walked around Gu Qingshan curiously. A look of realization appeared on her face as she whispered, "No wonder, thou art the king of wraiths." Saying so, the white-clothed girl bowed to Gu Qingshan before flying away. As soon as she left, the old man's stiff body collapsed to the ground, no longer breathing. Gu Qingshan hurriedly bowed back. But the other party left very quickly, flying up to the sky in the blink of an eye, disappearing without a trace. Gu Qingshan sneaked a glance at the group of cultivators. As soon as they saw these two girls, they were so scared that they didn't even dare to move. Without hesitation, Gu Qingshan used Shadow Shift to switch places with Lin. "What's the meaning of this?" Lin asked. "I can see that you're being beaten up quite badly. I'll guard Anna from now on, you go up," Gu Qingshan said. Lin looked at him with a bit of a smile in her eyes. Without having to guard Anna anymore, who would be able to beat her up now? She sighed, stood up straight, and coldly looked at the cultivators without making any defensive movements. "All of you go up together," Lin said. The cultivators stared at her, not daring to move. "Run!" a cultivator shouted. It was the cultivator who was responsible for checking on Lin's condition before. When the cultivators heard this shout, they turned around without hesitation and scattered in all directions. Lin smiled. "Quite scattered, but don't even think about running away this time," she muttered and disappeared from where she was standing. She caught up to one of them and killed him. Then caught up to another and killed him. Then caught up to another and killed him. Kill, 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 kill. In just 20 breaths worth of time, all the cultivators were dead. Lin slowly returned without a single trace of blood on her body. "Why are you here?" she casually asked. Gu Qingshan tossed it out. Lin's eyes flickered as she caught the item. It was a spider ring. "This is a higher-level ring of vow," Lin muttered blankly. "That's right, the parallel world apocalypse will soon arrive to destroy this place. The Eternal Abyss told me to give this ring to you to resolve this crisis," Gu Qingshan explained. Lin didn't say anything and silently put the ring on her finger. She closed her eyes for a while. "In just 1 minute, the powerful forces of the parallel world will arrive," Lin said. "I need to deal with them, then return to the Abyss to join the battle. Is it dangerous?" "It is. I also want to see what the parallel world apocalypse looks like. I'll go with you later." Lin smiled and shook her head. "You won't be able to looking down on me? Although I—" Halfway through her words, Gu Qingshan suddenly couldn't say anything else. He found that he couldn't move. Strands of snow-white spider silk appeared from the void of space and trapped him. Compared to when Lin was still the abyssal fate weaver, this spider silk was several times stronger. Gu Qingshan found that he couldn't even release spirit energy anymore. Lin had trapped him. "Why is that?" Gu Qingshan asked. Lin stared closely at the spider silk, sensing it as she replied. "It seems the war has reached a crucial point, and my actions have earned a higher evaluation from the Abyss, so the Eternal Abyss created an unparalleled abyssal form for me. You really can't participate in the upcoming battle, why not?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Because this is a mythical-level war, it has far surpassed what you can handle," Lin replied. "It's only mythical level, you underestimate me too much. I really need to fight, as you know. I've always desired to obtain soul points," Gu Qingshan replied. Lin silently listened and looked at him with a gentle gaze. "After I return to my abyssal form, you should know what my Fate Weaver ability is." Gu Qingshan was surprised. Right after obtaining the new Ring of Vow, she once again obtained the ability to read minds, as well as that terrifying Fate-type ability. Existence. She knows everything I'm thinking. "Gu Qingshan, I've heard your worries, but this battle is too dangerous. The Abyss has also arranged a fixed teleportation technique for you through the ring. As soon as you give me the ring, you will be teleported back to the place called Calming Soul Country in 2 minutes. She reached out with the ring on her hand and lightly stroked Gu Qingshan's eyes, ears, and face. Big sis is leaving, take care. After saying so, she kissed him. 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breath. Lin abruptly took a step back and begrudgingly said, I forgot, although you're trapped by the spider's silk, your tongue. Her face became slightly flushed. Not daring to look at Gu Qingshan anymore, she twisted her body and flew up into the sky. In the air, a gloomy mist suddenly appeared from her ring and enveloped her. Her body began to change. She no longer looked like a spider, but rather an even more graceful and breathtaking existence. Unfortunately, Gu Qingshan was being restrained by the snow-white spider silk, unable to move at all. Both her spirit energy and inner sight were restrained, so she couldn't sense Lin's change. A line of glowing text appeared on the war god Ui. Frowny face. You've performed the world's best kissing technique. Battle result. Combined with what you've done before, you've successfully conquered her heart in 45 seconds. You will be transported back to Calming Soul Country in 45 seconds. The abyssal spider silk restraining you will be automatically dispelled. Gu Qingshan sighed, then froze again. Anna. At some unknown point, Anna had woken up. Her crimson hair had turned black, her entire body was drifting in the wind of darkness, giving her a sense of mystery. She put her scythe away and quickly walked towards Gu Qingshan. Humph, although she helped me complete the inheritance, and I'm grateful to her, stealing my man is definitely not allowed. Anna loudly declared. She walked in front of Gu Qingshan and angrily said, That big sis is too ruthless when it comes to killing. She's not an ideal partner. Not to mention, she's acting like a pervert in public. In public, Gu Qingshan's gaze swept around. Corpses littered the ground. That's right, it's also in public. P.S. Fellow readers, I'm Fireworks City, recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, 0 ads, and multiple reading mode. Dear readers, please pay attention to it. Chapter 1098. While Anna was talking, notifications were popping up on the war god Ui. Frowny face. Attention, attention! Then 35 seconds you'll be warped away. Gu Qingshan glanced over and quickly said, Anna, I'm about to be warped away. This is the eternal abyss. Shh! Anna cut him off and spoke with a seemingly determined tone. I heard your conversation. You'll be gone in a few dozen seconds. I know. She tried her best to appear calm, but couldn't. Looking at her stubborn expression, Gu Qingshan's gaze slowly became gentle. This was his love from the past life, the girl who promised to meet him in battle, but died in the apocalypse. Even if he's never really been with a girl before, how could Gu Qingshan back down at this point? Gu Qingshan muttered. That's right, I'm afraid I'll have to participate in a battle. It's a very important matter that concerns our survival. Anna lowered her head and said nothing. But he continued. Anna, you'll have to leave soon as well. Remember, your life is more important than anything else. You can't die no matter what. After I'm done with this, I'll come find you, all right? Hearing that last part, Anna abruptly looked up and stared at him, as if trying to confirm something. Gu Qingshan muttered. That's right, you have to stay alive and wait for me to return. After a brief moment of silence, Anna suddenly asked, How many seconds left? Gu Qingshan glanced at the UI and replied, 6 seconds. After that, another second passed. The last 5 seconds. Anna walked up without hesitation, hooked her hand under Gu Qingshan's chin and said, Remember, I've never kissed another man. 4 seconds. She put her lips on Gu Qingshan's. 3 seconds. Speaking of which, as the princess of the Holy Empire, the beloved daughter of the Medici clan, a woman who attracted the attention of the upper society of my homeworld, Anna had been influenced by her surroundings since she was young and had seen a lot of romantic affairs. After her mother passed away, although her father didn't have a new queen, he still had a lover. Anna had even met her father's lover and was familiar with him. For Anna, she was more knowledgeable, so it was normal for her to have more thoughts than the average girl during her first kiss. 2 seconds left. Anna hesitated for a moment before gently sticking out the tip of her tongue. With a tinge of fear and courage, her fragrant tongue entered Gu Qingshan's mouth. 1 second. Her small tongue was probing forward when it was suddenly flipped up and down gently. Following that, he traced along her lips and made a circle. Time was up. Gu Qingshan was pulled away by a powerful force and disappeared in front of Anna with a hoe. Anna stood rooted to the ground, her hand pressed against her chest, unable to speak for a long time. The kiss was not over. There was still time. The so-called reluctance, the so-called endless, was nothing more than this. So this is how it feels. Really, Anna murmured but did not continue. She looked normal, but the blush on her face completely destroyed the solemnity of the god of death. Time passed by slowly. Anna suddenly said, "Gu Qingshan, I'm not going to wait for you, I've obtained the inheritance, from now on, I'm the god of death." She chanted an incantation, and her figure gradually disappeared from where she stood. Her resolute words resounded in the wind. "I will not let any other woman get close to you." Apart from Su Sher. At another location, Gu Qingshan was being pulled by a great force through the endless space at an unimaginable speed, heading towards calming Soul Country. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared in front of his eyes. Frowny face, you've performed the world's best kissing technique, but due to time constraints, only a tenth of it was used. Combat result. Everything was predestined, this time you've thoroughly captured her heart. Combat note. The unfinished kiss is instead more effective and unforgettable. Gu Qingshan felt a bit of a headache. Oi, this is a matter between a man and a woman, there's no need for you to provide some sort of combat note, he complained. Ting. The war god Ui replied. This Ui was prepared for the god of war. As a man who holds this Ui, you must not underestimate any war. You only need to worry about normal battles. Why are you interfering with matters of the heart? Gu Qingshan asked in confusion. The war god Ui's voice instantly became serious. Frowny face, you're wrong. For a single individual, feelings and the apocalypse are on the same level of war, the only difference is the method. Gu Qingshan's breath was stuck in his throat, unable to come out. Fine, do what you want, he finally begrudgingly said. At this point, a few more lines of text appeared on the war god Ui. Frowny face, the results of this battle between the abyss and the apocalypse have been determined. Please pay attention to the following. The god of death's inheritance has not been taken away. Lin had won against the invading enemies of the parallel apocalypse. Under Lin's guidance, the god of death's inheritance had been taken back by the eternal abyss, becoming a part of its body. In summary, you've successfully completed the mission. Assigned by the Eternal Abyss, you've obtained the Eternal Abyss praise. Reading this, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, the Eternal Abyss praise? What use is that? The war god Ui replied. It's temporarily useless, there is no need for you to pay attention to this. Attention, you are about to arrive at calming Soul Country. For the sake of your safety, the Eternal Abyss will use a teleportation technique on you. Right away, Gu Qingshan found his flying speed slowing down. A kind of spatial fluctuation began to encircle him. Sha, he vanished. Calming Soul Country. A secluded area. A small house. Gu Qingshan suddenly appeared. You're back. Yi Feili smiled and said. Seems like you're not missing anything, Zhang Yongho commented. I'm fine, Gu Qingshan replied, then released her inner sight to observe their surroundings. Yi Feili and Zhang Yongho both appeared to be a bit ragged, apparently slightly wounded, but both of them were in good spirits without any major issues. Lola was sleeping. Boss was holding a can of Soul Points drink in his hand, pouring it into his mouth. What's wrong with Lola? Gu Qingshan immediately asked. Don't worry, we were in a hurry at the end, so she was a bit tired and fell asleep, Yi Feili replied. Was the situation very dangerous? Gu Qingshan asked. Zhang Young-ho replied. We were almost attacked by the parallel world apocalypse. Fortunately, we managed to reach the deepest part of the God of Life's ruin at the very last moment, allowing Boss to return the entire ruin to the eternal abyss. We were also transported away, Yi Fei-li added. Gu Qingshan sighed in relief. He suddenly noticed something and observed Boss. Hey, you seem to have gotten stronger. Boss put the can down and replied. Of course, the abyss has been replenished, finally able to catch its breath and fight against the parallel world apocalypse again, while Boss put his hand forward. A vast amount of power gathered in his hand and slowly manifested. But at the very last moment, Boss dispersed this power. Gu Qingshan was a bit confused and said, Strange, you've definitely gotten stronger, but why do I feel like your abyssal form isn't that powerful yet? Boss sighed. Of course, he seemed to hesitate for a split second, then seemed to be communicating with a certain entity from the unseen world. A few moments later, Boss continued. Now that you've all participated in this war, there's no harm in telling you, at first, when the parallel world apocalypse arrived, as the strongest entity within the abyss, I fought against it. What? Gu Qingshan and the others exclaimed in shock. That's right, Boss displayed a mocking expression. During that decisive battle, I was defeated by the parallel world apocalypse. My abyssal form was also completely destroyed. Only I managed to escape. In truth, the entire eternal abyss had already lost to the parallel world apocalypse. The entire room went silent. No one could have imagined that to be the truth. Boss continued. This was the reason why the eternal abyss poured into the 900 million world layers. To survive after its defeat, nothing more. Fortunately, I was able to awaken the abyssal form hidden by the 7 deities, finally bringing new power to the eternal abyss, and now, a new war will begin, one that will determine the fate of all of us. All of you must fight against the apocalypse with me. Yi Fei-li and Zhang Young-ho couldn't help but turn to Gu Qingshan. Through their experiences in the past, it had been proven that there was an expert in fighting against the apocalypse here. Gu Qingshan muses a bit and said, but the current situation is that we must first fight against chaos, because the Soul Shrieker is growing stronger and stronger, and it views me as its mortal enemy. Because I carry the Demon King order, it will definitely come to kill me. What do you want to do? Boss asked. I want the card of the 4 deities. I want to resurrect an order to fight against it. Boss thought briefly, then said, Then I'll help you with this, and you'll help me fight against the apocalypse. That's fine, Gu Qingshan replied. Then it's a deal? It's a deal. Chapter 1099. Inside the room, Lola rubbed her eyes as she sat up, stretched her back, then saw Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan, you've returned safely? She asked in confusion. Gu Qingshan smiled, walked up and rubbed her head. As you can see, I'm fine, but you must be exhausted from your trip to the ruin. Lola sighed emotionally. That's right, I saw a lot of ancient treasures. Although I couldn't take them, it was still an eye-opener. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion in the void, pulling something out of it. Everyone couldn't help but look. It was an emerald green scepter with a bird carved on its head. As soon as this scepter appeared, the entire room was filled with a faint mist. Taking a deep breath of the mist made everyone feel refreshed. Boss was a bit surprised. This style of artifact seems to be from the same era as the treasures in the God of Life's ruins, Lola replied. That's right, my ability has a unique characteristic. Only after I've seen a certain level of treasure will I be able to catch a certain level of treasure. Hearing that, everyone couldn't help but have the same thought. No wonder when they explored the ruins, according to the agreement with the king, they couldn't take any treasures. At the time, Lola said that it was fine to just take a look. So after she saw it she could catch it. Zhang Young-ho suddenly took out a light sniper rifle and gave it to Lola, saying, Your Majesty, please take a look at this rifle. Is there something wrong with it? Lola received it in confusion, glanced at it and said, "This rifle is quite good, but it's still dormant," Boss suddenly said. "Your Majesty, don't look at the rifle anymore. When you have time, come with me to the abyss. There are a few strange soul artifacts of unknown origins that I want you to take a look at." Lola became interested and said, "Ah? Soul artifacts of unknown origins? How curious, no problem." "Boss, wait a moment." Gu Qingshan pushed Boss aside, took out the twin swords Heaven and Earth, and handed them over. "Lola, the matter of the dark abyss is still far away. Take a look at these two swords of mine first." Lola. She looked at the fiery gazes of the crowd and slowly understood. "Aya, Gu Qingshan, you idiot, the twin swords Heaven and Earth are unique artifacts. I've already sneaked a peek at them countless times, but you have to think about it. Even in the vast void, there are only a few extraordinary soul artifacts like these. They would definitely be fought over by countless existences. It's almost impossible for them to become ownerless artifacts." Gu Qingshan sheathed her swords. In fact, this was indeed the case. If he could just casually touch the twin swords Heaven and Earth, then the Soul Shrieker's countless years of preparation and planning would be nothing more than a joke. When everyone thought of this, they gave up on the idea. Lola continued, "So, the chances of me touching such a weapon are very low." "Very low? Wait a minute," Gu Qingshan asked. "In other words, there's still a chance to touch it?" When my luck is especially good, of course. That's very hard," Lola replied. Everyone almost collapsed. Yi Fei Li sighed, then said, "As a Duke of the Bramble Bird Kingdom, I don't want to struggle anymore." Lola waved her hand dismissively and smiled. "Don't count on such unrealistic things. In truth, treasures and whatnot are all mere worldly possessions. If you truly want to obtain something, you still need to rely on your own hard work." "My own hard work." These words sounded a bit harsh to the ears. Everyone tactfully avoided this topic. Gu Qingshan tapped her inventory bag and took out a colorful rooster statue. "Another day has passed. It's time to see if there's any new information." Perhaps it was just her imagination, but Gu Qingshan felt that the colorful rooster seemed to have grown a bit bigger compared to the last time she saw it. He pulled on the rooster's comb. The colorful rooster instantly came to life. "Burp!" It immediately burped. "Youngster, hello, what do you need from me?" The rooster opened its beak to speak, looking a bit dispirited. Gu Qingshan noticed that it seemed a bit tired. "Of course it's information. What happened to you?" Gu Qingshan asked. The rooster flapped its wings and replied, "It's nothing. I've been visiting friends and family recently, ate a bit too much, so I gained a few pounds." Gu Qingshan nodded in understanding. "Ah, that's understandable. Then please tell me something about me." "Same old rules." The rooster made a heart gesture with its wings. Gu Qingshan reached her hand out and transferred 10,000 soul points over. Receiving the soul points, the rooster finally became a bit more spirited. It straightened its neck, cautiously observing the void of space with its eyes, as if trying to find something. After a while, the rooster retracted its neck and became dispirited again. "What a loss this time! A huge piece of information. That cost me a lot of soul points," it muttered, sneaking a glance at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan knew that it had fused with the war god information, so it was the same as the war god UI, so she transferred 90,000 soul points over without hesitation. After killing the occultism spirit in the garden, he obtained 5 million soul points, so he was feeling quite rich. The rooster raised his thumb and praised. "How generous! You are indeed generous." Listen well, as the era of chaos gradually descends, the 900 million world layers is slowly being enveloped by chaos. 1 hour ago, the Soul Shrieker successfully achieved apotheosis. A true god has surpassed the realm of normal, not something that can be defeated with normal combat prowess. The Soul Shrieker is currently the only true god of the 900 million world layers, currently spreading chaos. To every civilized world, the 7 holy churches of the strife zones have officially split. A portion of them have submitted to the Soul Shrieker, while the others are facing a final decision. because if they do not submit, the Soul Shrieker will directly destroy them. If you have a way, you must quickly stop the Soul Shrieker, otherwise, it will be too late. After reporting the information, the colorful rooster turned back into a statue and stopped moving. Gu Qingshan fell silent. Zhang Yongho patted his shoulder and said, "It seems we need to quickly resolve the situation here and awaken order," Yi Feili replied. "Each of the 4 fake deities has a portion of their card, so they can use the power of order to a certain degree. They are already powerful, and combined with the power of order, how are we supposed to kill them?" Boss sighed and replied, "In truth, their strength isn't the main issue. The main issue is the monster behind them." Everyone went silent as they couldn't help but recall that scene. Tens of thousands of gigantic black tentacles pierced through the walls of the palace and shot into the sky. And this was only a small portion of the monster's body. Even the deities could only defeat this monster, but not kill it. Zhang Yongho spoke with a serious tone. Within Calming Soul Country, aside from the royal family, everyone's life and death can be sensed by it, so as soon as we kill a single fake deity, we'll immediately be discovered. Everyone went silent. There were a total of 4 fake deities, so killing any one of them would draw the attention of that unbeatable monster. What should we do now? Gu Qingshan silently listened without saying anything. Lola silently glanced at him and noticed his thoughts. She thought for a bit, then pulled Gu Qingshan's sleeve. "Gu Qingshan, I remember that you asked me for a card to use to increase your strength." "I did," Gu Qingshan nodded. "At the time, I asked Lola for 8th Wind Elemental Pursuit Strike card in order to comprehend the mysteries of 1,000 swords as one. As an envoy of condemnation, he could use cards from the inner plane to increase his cultivation, but Gu Qingshan's strength hadn't actually reached that level yet. Because of that, he could temporarily consume normal cards and use them to increase his swordsmanship. Just like how the Black Cat evolved." Lola asked, "Can you still use cards to increase your strength?" "I can." "Then why didn't you ask me for more? Because you were looking down on me?" Lola angrily asked. "That's not it. At the time, the Soul Shrieker ambushed me and interrupted this. Furthermore, there were too many things that happened after that, so we didn't have the time to continue this," Gu Qingshan explained. "The battle is imminent. What other cards do you need?" "Hurry up and tell me," Lola said. Gu Qingshan thought about it and agreed. Ever since her comprehension was interrupted by the Soul Shrieker's ambush, it's been a long time since I studied my swordsmanship. In truth, my control over sword phantoms has already reached the point of perfection, only a single step away from the realm of one sword as 1,000 swords as one. Right away, Gu Qingshan told her the names of the cards. Lola searched through her vault and quickly gave the cards to Gu Qingshan. Putting the cards away, Gu Qingshan wasn't in a hurry to break through and instead told everyone, "I have a way to get rid of those fake deities, but there are 2 problems that need to be solved first." "The first problem?" Zhang Yongho asked. "First, we need to understand how far our own people can go in battle." "The second problem?" Yi Feili asked. "The 4 fake deities won't easily show themselves, so we need to make them show themselves in order to have a chance to get rid of them," Boss replied. "The first problem is easy to solve. We only need to find a place where we can display our abilities one by one, then we'll understand each other's strength," Zhang Yongho muses. "As for the second problem, it's a bit more difficult. Only when something extremely important happens in Calming Soul Country would the 4 deities show themselves at the same time. The second problem is probably very difficult, unless another group of people like us enter Calming Soul Country." Yi Feili and Lola also agreed. While everyone was discussing, the room suddenly became dark and bright. A bright light appeared somewhere behind them. Everyone turned to look, only to see that boundless golden light was converging on the sleeping child's body. Xianya's ghost stood next to the child, looking at this in shock. She couldn't help but whisper something. "What did she say?" Gu Qingshan asked in a low voice. Yi Feili replied, "She said, a new king has been born." Chapter 1100. The king died in the ruin, devoured by the occultism spirit. The prince died in this room due to the backlash of the covenant, which means this child is the last descendant of the god of life? Gu Qingshan looked at the sleeping child and asked. Xianya nodded. She hurriedly told them something. Yi Feili translated. The change of the throne will surely shock the entire Calming Soul country. The protectors of the royal family will all come here. We need to quickly avoid them. Furthermore, although the 4 deities won't come here right away, they will surely show up at the same time during the coronation ceremony. Gu Qingshan immediately said, There's no time to leave. Hurry, Lola. Understood. Lola opened her umbrella. Everyone grabbed the umbrella's handle and disappeared. A few seconds later, bam, the door was pushed open. Several fully armored demis came in one after another. The presence they exuded was almost the strongest in the entire Calming Soul country. It was obvious that they had grasped a powerful divine skill and possessed power that surpassed normal demis. These people silently stood around the child's bed. They silently observed the golden light that continuously radiated from the child's body. Is this the last descendant of the royal family? One of the protectors muttered. That's right, he was born from the prince and the protector Xianya. Unfortunately, Xianya has never been recognized, another protector sighed. No matter how much she isn't recognized now, she has no choice but to be recognized. She is the mother of the new king, and according to our intelligence, her soul wasn't devoured by the monster. They exchanged glances and understood each other's intentions. Another protector said, Let's go, bring him back to the royal palace. This doesn't just concern our oath, but also the safety of the entire world. That's right, nothing must happen to him, otherwise the bloodline of the deities will be cut off and the entire Calming Soul country will be destroyed. No matter how arrogant the 4 deities and that monster are, they wouldn't be willing to see this world destroyed. That would only heavily injure or even kill them, the protectors discussed. Among themselves, they took the child and left the room. A few moments later, as Lola was about to close her umbrella, Gu Qingshan and Boss both stopped her. Time passed slowly. Suddenly, 4 profound and obscure auras appeared at the same time. A voice resounded from the void of space. Is that the final bloodline of the god of life? Another voice replied. Unclear, the master is currently making the final confirmation, the third voice replied. That's a good thing, the new king is a 3-year-old child, so he won't be able to lead the demis for a long time, the last voice said. That's not necessarily true. We still have to check if he has any immediate family members. Alright, let's go. We'll see what master says when we return. We must be present at the coronation ceremony. It's a good chance to spread the power of the gods. Let's go. The sound gradually faded away. After a long time, Gu Qingshan, Zhang Yongho, Yi Feili, Boss, and Lola reappeared. Fortunately, you guys reacted quickly. It was really dangerous just now, Lola said with lingering fear. The others were deep in thought. Did you hear that? They will appear at the coronation ceremony at the same time, Zhang Yongho said. Time is of the essence, we should begin our preparations now, Gu Qingshan said. On a remote and uninhabited cliff, Yi Feili and Zhang Yongho had already displayed their killing prowess. Boss praised them. Although you two aren't particularly strong, you're quite talented at killing, and your unique abilities are quite decent. Then what about you? Didn't you recover a bit of your strength? Zhang Yongho asked. Boss walked towards the cliff and muttered. I've only recovered a bit of my abyssal power, but it's already considered quite advanced within the abyss. If you hadn't met me, you probably wouldn't have been able to witness this power for the rest of your lives. The book of prophesied destiny appeared next to him and automatically flipped open. Standing in front of the cliff, Boss tore off a page and muttered, Ignite! A gray flame appeared on the page. Boss's hand flickered. The burning page disappeared in an instant. Boss turned around and told everyone, I can't use the star firefly because I've already recovered a bit of my power. I don't want to throw away the situation and easily die again. That would make everything I have return to 0 inch, so watch carefully. He opened his palms and muttered, "Flames of nihility, boom!" The towering cliff was suddenly engulfed by the gray flame. The cliff exploded with a loud bang, then quickly shrank and collapsed into a small gray dot. Very quickly, the gray dot also disappeared without a trace. Not a single physical object remained. Boss's voice resounded. "As you can see, this flames of nihility is very powerful. Even a fake god would be killed by this power." Standing in front of him, everyone was a bit impressed. What unparalleled power! Jang Young-ho looked at the clean crack on the cliff and couldn't help but praise. As expected of Boss, if he used his full strength, he would probably be able to win against those fake gods. Yi Fei raised her thumb and silently thought about how she should deal with this attack. The strongest combatant of the Abyss sure is impressive. Lola also couldn't help but comment. She was a bit distracted and began to think about the abyssal soul artifacts that he mentioned. Boss smiled and wiped the sweat off his forehead. "Of course, I'm the strongest combatant above the Star Crown, the strongest entity within the abyss. You have to keep that in mind." The three of them regained their senses and hurriedly nodded. But Gu Qingshan didn't say anything. Because among them, he was the only one who managed to observe the entire process with his Paragon Realm inner sight and noticed a certain problem. How should I say this? Boss seems to not have recovered enough power to properly control the power of flames of nihility. When he attacked just now, in order to appear casual, Boss purposely faced everyone with his back to the cliff and used flames of nihility. And then, his back was blown to a bloody pulp. Half of his buttocks were exposed. How is he going to deal with this situation? Gu Qingshan silently thought, then couldn't help but glance at Boss. Only to see that Boss was holding the Book of Prophesied Destiny in one hand and stroked his hair with the other, proudly saying, "I suddenly had some inspiration. You guys go and rest first. I'll be standing here for a bit longer. Don't stand here and get in the way of my combat skills." "Ah, got it," Yi Fei replied. Everyone turned around and headed towards the invisibility formation, not too far away. Gu Qingshan hesitated for a split second. "Fine. If Boss wants to hold on, then let him be." Gu Qingshan followed the others back into the formation. Everyone temporarily rested and waited for Boss. At this point, Gu Qingshan drew a card and looked at it. The card depicted a water vortex that hovered above the head of a man with his eyes closed. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god UI. Illusion technique. Dark Inviter. Using this card will cause a designated target to fall into a unique world illusion. The danger level of that world is determined by the creator. Consuming this card will allow you to comprehend and evolve your swordsmanship. This was one of the cards he obtained from Lola, the second card that could help his swordsmanship evolve. Gu Qingshan had already consumed a Wind Elemental Pursuit Strike card, so there was no need to think too much about consuming Dark Inviter this time around. Since they were about to fight against 4 fake gods, Gu Qingshan hoped that he would be able to advance to a single strike realm before that. He answered without hesitation. Consume. As soon as he said so, the card turned into sprites of light that scattered into his body. Gu Qingshan closed her eyes and began to feel the mysteries of swordsmanship. All of a sudden, lines of glowing text quickly scrolled past her eyes on the war god UI. Gu Qingshan looked over in surprise. Attention! Attention! An extremely rare occurrence has occurred. Consuming this card will be equivalent to being subjected to the illusion technique, Dark Inviter, but as there are no enemies around who are adept at using illusion techniques, there shouldn't be any issues. A rare occurrence has occurred during this process of consuming. A unique spirit has participated in the process of the technique. The spirit is about to invite you into a world illusion. Unable to discern the spirit's intentions, please ensure your own safety. The lines of text disappeared. In a daze, Gu Qingshan noticed that Zhang Yongho and the rest of the people around her had all disappeared, as well as the surrounding grass and formations. A dilapidated skyscraper abruptly appeared. Gu Qingshan found herself standing in a certain hallway. How interesting, it shouldn't be that monster. It can't sense outsiders like us, otherwise it would have killed us already. Then, who exactly is it? Gu Qingshan muttered and looked around. The entire hallway was dark. A single lamp hung from the ceiling by itself. The lamp was already broken and covered in dust. Because there were so many skyscrapers here, this place doesn't get any sunlight at all. Wait a minute, this place is... A distant memory resurfaced in Gu Qingshan's mind, causing him to feel a chill down his spine. Gu Qingshan quickly walked through the hallway and stood in front of a familiar room. At some point, a key had appeared in his hand. Without saying a word, Gu Qingshan used the key to open the door and walked in without hesitation. He stood in the room and looked around. This place didn't have a living room, bedroom, or kitchen. The narrow, rectangular room was barely big enough to fit a bed and a cupboard. Everything else had to be piled up on one side, otherwise there would be nowhere to put them. There wasn't even a washroom. This kind of living environment could only be considered low class even in the slums. Gu Qingshan silently observed everything. Indeed, this used to be his room. What kind of world illusion would allow me to return to my homeworld, to the slums of the Federation? Gu Qingshan was full of questions. He tentatively closed his eyes and began to sense his surroundings. All of a sudden, as Gu Qingshan fell into contemplation, something appeared in this dark and secluded room. A long tongue slowly descended from the ceiling, silently landing behind Gu Qingshan. The long tongue lightly licked Gu Qingshan's back, all the way to his neck. Chapter 1101. Drip, drip, drip. Blood continued to drip. A blurred shadow hovered on the ceiling above Gu Qingshan's head. A long tongue reached out, coiled around Gu Qingshan's neck, and slowly tightened. Gu Qingshan didn't react at all and instead appeared contemplative. An unknown spirit had used a mirage technique to pull me into a unique world mirror. This seems quite dangerous. But in reality, the mirage Dark Inviter card isn't an inner plane card, nor is it a world technique that was created from a combination of cards. In the end, this card's power is limited. That's why Gu Qingshan didn't act right away. He himself had two true world techniques. The first, parallel dream. The second, a time recollection. Gu Qingshan already had a certain level of understanding when it came to creating unique worlds, so the first thing he wanted to do before entering an unknown world mirror was to probe the characteristics of this world technique. From a certain point of view, this could also be considered a spar and an exploration of technique. And so, when the long tongue fell from the ceiling, he didn't move. When the tongue fell on his back, he didn't move. When the tongue coiled around his neck, he still didn't move and carefully sensed this technique. It wasn't until he had a vague idea that Gu Qingshan raised his hand and formed a hand seal. Clear Mind Seal. This was one of the most basic hand seals in the cultivation world, capable of helping a cultivator dispel any distracting thoughts. For a cultivator of Gu Qingshan's level, this type of hand seal was already useless. But this time, what Gu Qingshan wanted to dispel wasn't distracting thoughts. It was spirit sense. Disperse, he muttered. Spirit energy flowed from his dantian, infusing it into his hand seal. The hand seal was completed. Gu Qingshan felt his mind go blank. His inner sight was as clear as the void, without a single flaw. Immediately, the long tongue, the blood, the narrow room, the eerie shadow, as well as the entire building, all disappeared from Gu Qingshan's sight. His surroundings changed. Gu Qingshan found himself standing in the middle of a luxurious palace. He turned around. Behind him, on the other side of the long dining table, sat a dignified middle-aged man. "How did you find out?" the middle-aged man asked. Gu Qingshan briefly said, My spirit sense is filled with a similar feeling towards the upcoming battle, so I noticed it. You're quite sharp when it comes to spells. Welcome, please take a seat. The middle-aged man gestured for Gu Qingshan to sit down. Gu Qingshan looked at the dining table and stood still. Sorry, I'm not used to having lunch with strangers. He looked at her and said. The middle-aged man stood up, bowed elegantly, and said, I'm sorry. Actually, I should be the one apologizing. Please forgive me for bringing you here in such a manner. Then, allow me to introduce myself. I am the previous king of Calming Soul Country past kings? How could a man call himself a king? As if sensing Gu Qingshan's confusion, the middle-aged man thought for a moment and said, There's no harm in letting you take a look. His body suddenly swelled up violently, turning into a 5-meter-tall illusory spirit body. Over 100 faces appeared on the surface of the spirit. They all had different appearances and expressions, all looking at Gu Qingshan at the same time. This scene was a bit frightening. Gu Qingshan didn't change her expression and clasped her fist. Nice to meet you. May I ask why the previous kings have summoned me here? In a split second, the inflated spirit abruptly shrank and turned back into the middle-aged man. He said, No need to be surprised. I'm sure you also know that the monster couldn't find the souls of the royal family, so we weren't eaten and instead continued to exist in this manner for countless years. Please sit down, we'll discuss this slowly, the middle-aged man said. Very well. Gu Qingshan sat down on this side of the dining table. The middle-aged man waved his hand. The dining table was instantly filled with steaming hot food. These are all the favorite dishes of the previous kings. I'm sure some of them would suit your taste. The middle-aged man smiled and said. Gu Qingshan looked at the dishes. Both cooking and world techniques, he naturally understood them and was able to see through them. These dishes were manifested from his consciousness. Simply put, they were the manifestation of his thought. Someone had eaten these dishes, manifested the taste of each dish into their own thoughts, then used that to manifest the dishes again. This way, when others eat these dishes, they would be able to feel the wonderful taste of these dishes from the beginning. Gu Qingshan praised. Thank you for your hospitality, what an excellent technique, it's truly an eye-opener for me. He picked up a knife from the table and stabbed it towards a plate of dim sum. The knife turned into a pair of chopsticks halfway through, firmly catching the dim sum, and pulled it back. Gu Qingshan took a bite. This taste is quite good. I can use my sense of taste to find out the original cooking method. He moved his chopsticks again to pick up another dish. The middle-aged man stared closely at Gu Qingshan, slowly displaying a look of appreciation. This young man used his own thoughts to change the knife into a pair of chopsticks, meaning that he's already understood this technique well enough to take the initiative in it. This was a silent warning. With that in mind, the middle-aged man spoke with a serious expression. There's something I must ask of you, you're too polite, I've never been a freeloader, if there's anything you need, please tell me. Gu Qingshan continued tasting the dishes and replied. As the previous king, I really want to know what happened to that unfilial descendant of mine. Ah. Which unfilial descendant are you referring to? The one that I granted the previous kings the divine skill, but was still defeated by you and entered the god of life's ruin, unable to return. Gu Qingshan was surprised. So that's why. The king's ancestor didn't hesitate to use this technique to pull me in to find out the king's whereabouts. This is very reasonable. From a certain point of view, this was also the same as the old sending off the young. But how should I say it? The king's death at the time was indeed a bit unjust. In fact, Gu Qingshan was even seriously considering pulling her into his group. But the occultism spirit acted too quickly. The king's leather bag was also sent flying into the space vortex, disappearing without a trace. Because of that, there wasn't even any room for redemption. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then decided to honestly explain the situation at the time of the king's death. The middle-aged man silently listened without saying a word. Gu Qingshan sincerely said, I also feel very regretful about this matter. Please accept my condolences. Accept my condolences? No, we are not, the middle-aged man replied with a cold expression. Dying so worthlessly, even his soul was eaten. What a waste of our efforts. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. This attitude seems to be a bit different from what I expected. If the other party isn't here to find out about the king's death, then what is it for? Gu Qingshan directly asked. Forgive me for being blunt, but why exactly did you invite me into this technique? The middle-aged man shrugged. Of course it's to form an agreement with you. We will cooperate and escape from Calming Soul Country. His expression was unprecedentedly serious. It was now that Gu Qingshan understood, so that was the other party's goal. Could it be that as spirits, even your majesties are unable to leave Calming Soul Country? Gu Qingshan pursued. The middle-aged man casually replied. If we could leave, we would have already left. As you can see, other than those souls that were eaten, we could only use this method to prolong our feeble existence and wander around Calming Soul Country for over 100 million years. Although our power continues to grow, the world barrier of Calming Soul Country was created by the oath of the old gods. Unless one fulfills the terms of the oath, there is no way to enter or leave, including you. It was only because of the oath of the greatest above the star crown that you managed to enter this place. Gu Qingshan immediately expressed her stance. I believe there is no doubt about this. My companions and I are more than willing to break through this world barrier together with your majesties and escape from this place. Indeed, anyone would have done the same. Both sides had no conflicts of interest, no conflicts, only a common goal: to escape Calming Soul Country. This was the best basis for a cooperation. The middle-aged man lightly nodded, agreeing with this. He continued, Gu Qingshan, you are a smart person, and you are also very capable. As for your strength, although it is a bit weak, it isn't the most important factor in our plan. Gu Qingshan then asked, What does the majesties need me to do? The middle-aged man paused and fell into thought. He seemed to be recalling something, but also seemed to have something that he couldn't bring himself to say. A long while later, he finally opened his mouth and slowly spoke. Before we cooperate, you must first understand a bit of information, otherwise there will be delays. What kind of information? Gu Qingshan asked. The fall of the god of life over 100 million years ago, the king replied. I know about this. The 7 deities all fell in the process of conquering the void. Gu Qingshan continued. For the sake of the survival and reproduction of the demis, the deities had truly sacrificed themselves to the point of death. Truly admirable. The middle-aged man's lips curled up into a mocking smirk. To the point of death? The middle-aged man continued. I don't know about the other deities, but the god of life's forte lies in finding ways to survive, so how could such a great and noble deity die? Gu Qingshan froze, then exclaimed in shock. Could it be, the god of life is still alive? The middle-aged man nodded and told her a secret. Before the god of life's death, in order to continue living, she thought of a way to steal that monster's body and hid in Calming Soul Country for countless years, relying on eating the souls of demis to recuperate. The deities are existences on a completely different level from us. Ever since they became deities, they had already turned into cold and emotionless monsters. For monsters, it's completely understandable for them to feed on the souls of their own descendants. Chapter 1102. Inside the World Technique. The middle-aged man was still talking to Gu Qingshan in detail. Seeing the other party's expression, Gu Qingshan suddenly realized something. After so many years, the god of life, that monster, should have already eaten enough souls and recovered from its wounds, so why is it still staying in Calming Soul Country and refusing to leave? Gu Qingshan asked. The middle-aged man replied. After it returned, it was preparing to leave after eating enough souls, but gradually, it noticed a certain benefit. The middle-aged man coldly smirked. Calming Soul Country is protected by the oath of the 7 deities of the inner plane and the 4 pillar gods of the void, so it's hidden deep within the space vortex, completely safe. However, if it were to return to the space vortex, it might be found by the monster's original companions and enemies. How would the God of Life understand the relationship between monsters? It would definitely be exposed to those terrifying monsters. Because of that, rather than risking its life outside, it would be better to stay in Calming Soul Country and live a life where it doesn't have to worry about anything. Gu Qing Shan sighed. As the God of Life, it's not only worthy of its name. What do you mean? I've never seen anyone so afraid of death. You have no respect for the deities, the middle-aged man commented. That's not true. I also respect a few deities. Of course, not a fake deity like the God of Life. After saying that, Gu Qing Shan asked, about escaping from Calming Soul Country, how do you want me to cooperate? Speaking of business, the middle-aged man became solemn. He observed Gu Qing Shan from top to bottom and tried to probe. First, we need to know what your attitude is towards killing people. Gu Qing Shan leaned back in her chair and casually replied, I've killed more living beings than all of your kings combined. The middle-aged man glared at her and spoke in a displeased tone. There's no need to boast in front of us. You need to understand that we're all monarchs of our country, masters of an entire world of demis. The number of lives we've taken isn't something mortals like you can compare to. Gu Qing Shan smiled but didn't say anything. The middle-aged man looked at Gu Qing Shan and gradually became hesitant. He spoke to the void of space above his head. The 9th king, I remember that you were able to see through a person's sins. Take a look at him. A face appeared from the void of space and stared closely at Gu Qing Shan. The face suddenly shrieked. He is in existence even more evil than the gods. Even the dead have been completely destroyed by him. He is a real evil spirit. Gasps of surprise rang out in the void. The kings seemed to be stunned by this conclusion. The middle-aged man re-examined Gu Qing Shan and asked in a doubtful tone, You've destroyed billions of souls? Even the God of Life couldn't do this. How did you do it? They are just some scoundrels. Gu Qing Shan said casually, Isn't this a simple matter? If you provoke me, don't even think about dying peacefully. The middle-aged man fell silent. He lowered his head and seemed to be participating in the discussion between the kings. Gu Qing Shan didn't rush him. She just waited quietly. A few moments later, the middle-aged man spoke. The situation has changed. We've made a new decision. Please do, Gu Qing Shan replied. The middle-aged man continued. We originally wanted you to take charge of a portion of the matter, mainly to support us, and then? Gu Qing Shan asked. After reconsidering, since you were able to defeat the king and are an unforgivable evil spirit, we believe that you can fully participate in this matter. The middle-aged man cleared his throat and continued. You should have the ability to control a person's life and cause them to completely die at a specific time. That, I do have the ability to do, Gu Qing Shan replied. What do you plan to do? The middle-aged man asked. Bloodletting, or the simplest, stuffing a ticking time bomb into his stomach, Gu Qing Shan replied. The middle-aged man froze and scowled. That simple? Simple means practical, Gu Qing Shan replied. The middle-aged man shook his head. That won't work. You have to put a person in an extremely vulnerable state, where they would die as soon as someone touches them. This will cause the person's death to come from the one who touched them. Got it? Then what exactly do we do? Gu Qing Shan asked. Very well, listen carefully. This is the best opportunity in history, the middle-aged man explained. There is only one person left of the God of Life's direct bloodline, and it's a 3-year-old child. Gu Qing Shan, you need to work together with us to ensure that this child ultimately dies at the hands of the God of Life. This is its direct bloodline, according to the oath of the past deities. It cannot kill the last remaining member of the royal family, otherwise, it would be considered a violation of the oath. Gu Qing Shan thought briefly, then replied, That shouldn't be necessary. The God of Life has already fused with this world's law of death, so if that boy dies, Calming Soul Country would be destroyed and the God of Life would be heavily wounded. The middle-aged man shook his head. Things aren't as simple as you think. While heavily wounded, as soon as it notices that we've broken through this world's barrier, it would still have the strength to chase after us and kill us all. Can it kill you? Gu Qingshan asked. Of course, we're already dead, so we're not protected by the oath, but since we don't have the mark of the God of Life, it won't be able to find us, the middle-aged man replied. Gu Qingshan was surprised. That's right, the royal family doesn't have the mark of the God of Life, so the kings were able to escape being devoured by the monster at the time of their death. The middle-aged man continued. Remember, we need to carefully control the process of that child's death, not too early or too late, so that he dies at the hands of the God of Life. This way, the God of Life will be devoured by the backlash of the oath and die. Once the God of Life dies, both you and us will regain our freedom. Gu Qingshan thought briefly, then asked, when exactly do you plan to do this? You should know that the God of Life won't show up so easily, the middle-aged man replied. Tomorrow, during the coronation ceremony, it will definitely hide in the shadows and observe the entire process, Gu Qingshan added. The 4 deities will also come. You don't need to pay attention to those 4 traitors. Once the God of Life dies, they will also lose all of their powers, the middle-aged man replied. Gu Qingshan smiled and replied, so that's how it is, then it's a deal. The middle-aged man nodded satisfyingly. After that, the two sides discussed a few more details before the technique was about to dissipate. In the end, Gu Qingshan hesitantly said, that child is your descendant. I'm worried that you won't be able to do it when the time comes, the middle-aged man replied with a serious expression. You don't need to worry, we are kings, lords of this world, we can still face the most basic of sacrifices. That's good. Right, this illusion technique is very useful to me. You can't use it, Gu Qingshan said. The middle-aged man scowled. It's only a card, why are you so concerned about it? Of course, Gu Qingshan replied. Very well, we'll give you an identical card, the middle-aged man replied. Gu Qingshan was finally satisfied. He nodded to the other party, then slowly disappeared from the world technique. In a flash, Gu Qingshan found himself back at the temporary camp. Time, only an indiscernible amount of time had passed. Zhang Yongho's group glanced at him, but didn't say anything. Since there was no commotion around them, they instinctively assumed that the fluctuation of the technique just now came from Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan looked down at his hand. The illusion technique card had reappeared in his hand. Gu Qingshan sighed in relief and muttered to himself, that's fine, although he's full of nonsense, he still gave the card back to me, Calming Soul Country. Ha, what an ironic name for this world. Chapter 1103. Gu Qingshan looked at the illusion card in his hand and muttered, Devour. As soon as he said so, the card turned into sprites of light that entered his body. Gu Qingshan closed his eyes and once again immersed himself in the moment when he killed the mythical chaos monster with a single strike. He stopped at that moment to experience the mysteries of a single strike of life and death. A few moments later, the effect of the card disappeared. Gu Qingshan took out 4 more cards, which were respectively Border Knight of Light, Frozen Coffin of Sealing, Demon Hunter's Axe, and Mechanical Magic Crystal. These 4 cards, together with the Wind Elemental Pursuit Strike and Illusion, Dark Inviter that he had already used, according to the Envoy of Condemnation's description, these were the 6 cards that could help him grasp swordsmanship. Taking advantage of the fact that he had nothing to do, Gu Qingshan used the remaining 4 cards at once. He fell into an indescribably mysterious state. All the images, fragments, and scriptures related to swordsmanship appeared in his mind, arranged in a mystical order. This arrangement seemed to reveal a completely new realm of swordsmanship, so much so that Gu Qingshan was able to gain an endless amount of comprehension just by observing these contents in the order they were arranged. Time slowly passed. Boss had returned to the hidden camp. It was already dark outside, so everyone had already rested enough. Lola felt a bit hungry and turned to Gu Qingshan, only to see Gu Qingshan blankly standing there. As she was about to call out to her, Boss stopped her. "Shoo!" Boss waved his hand at her and whispered, "Don't disturb him." Lola was stunned. She looked at Zhang Young-ho and Yi Feili. They both nodded to her. Yi Feili whispered, "Your Majesty Lola, he is currently in a deep state of comprehension. This is a very unique situation. It is best not to interrupt him." Lola understood. She naturally understood the reasoning behind it, but as a non-combatant, she wasn't as sensitive to these things as others, so she didn't notice that Gu Qingshan's situation was strange at first. This time, Lola didn't say anything. The four of them remained silent and vigilant, quietly guarding Gu Qingshan. Time flew by. The night deepened. Night shrouded the earth. The wind grew colder and colder. When the first ray of sunlight pierced through the darkness and appeared on the horizon, Gu Qingshan finally came back to herself. Phew! He heaved a sigh of relief and realized that Lola, Boss, Zhang Young-ho and Yi Feili were all looking at him. "I'm sorry to have kept you waiting for so long." Gu Qingshan smiled. As he spoke, the void around him split apart, forming vertical black lines. The entire void was alternating between shattering and mending, and it seemed extremely terrifying. What a joke! Just how strong is this brat's swordsmanship? Why is he able to cut open the void of space just by releasing his sword chi? Everyone thought to themselves, "Gu Qingshan, what happened to you? Can we get close to you?" Lola cautiously asked. Yi Feili also asked, "Hey, you look like you're in danger. Are you going to be like this from now on?" Gu Qingshan naturally noticed the anomaly around him and face-bombed. "I'm fine, let me deal with it." He closed his eyes, formed a sword seal with both hands, opened his eyes again after a while and shouted, "Withdraw!" Everyone looked back. Sure enough, the cracks in the void around Gu Qingshan disappeared. Gu Qingshan smiled. There won't be any more danger now. It's really impressive. Congratulations on your great improvement in swordsmanship." Saying so, Lola was about to walk towards him. At this point, a giant black crack appeared from Gu Qingshan's body. Crack, crack. The crack gave off a faint sound of explosion before slowly disappearing after a few moments. Everyone. Lola couldn't help but stop in her tracks and shrink back along with everyone else. Zhang Young-ho looked at Gu Qingshan and spoke with a serious expression. "There are countless rules of combat, but safety comes first. If your killing technique isn't up to par, your family and friends will cry. This is the warm reminder of my hitman group. I'm now solemnly presenting it to you." Gu Qingshan hurriedly replied. "It was an accident, it was an accident. I've only just entered this realm, so I'm not too familiar with it." He closed his eyes again, held the sword seal in his hand, and began to deal with the surging sword chi around his body. A few moments later, he opened his eyes and smiled. This should be fine, but everyone moved a bit further away from him. "Hey, is this still swordsmanship?" Boss shouted from afar. It's a new realm of swordsmanship. It's able to exert my current strength several times over," Gu Qingshan explained. "Sounds like the concept of a turbocharger," Zhang Young-ho commented. "Indeed," Gu Qingshan replied. "How is that possible?" Yi Feili clicked her tongue in shock. "There's nothing that's impossible," Boss praised. "This is because one's technique is so advanced that it far surpasses one's personal strength. That's why one's technique can be used to push one's strength to the same level," Boss continued. "Who would have thought that your swordsmanship would have already reached such a level? Even within the 900 million world layers, your swordsmanship could be considered one of the best." Gu Qingshan sighed and replied. "I'm still too weak." Boss observed his expression, saw that he was calm and collected without any hint of pride, and silently nodded. Gu Qingshan didn't pay any attention to that. His gaze was focused on the void of space. Lines of glowing text appeared on the card's interface. Frowny face condemnation card. Sword cultivator Gu Qingshan, you've finished upgrading your technique. Your technique has reached the minimum strength of an envoy of condemnation. But your strength is still too weak. Please find an inner plane card as soon as possible to increase your strength to the minimum strength of an envoy of condemnation. When both your strength and technique have reached the minimum strength requirement, you will be able to use a specific inner plane card to advance. Gu Qingshan quickly finished reading. I've already used Lola's inner plane card to construct my world technique. So I need to find another inner plane card. But that's not the most pressing matter right now. There are more pressing matters to deal with right now. Gu Qingshan turned to his companions and said, Boss, Ing Hao, Yi Fei Li, Lola, and of course, Xianya. Something happened just now. I met the previous kings of Calming Soul Country. Without waiting for anyone to react, Gu Qingshan told them everything that happened. Kill that child to ensure that the god of life is also killed? Lola repeated. That's what they said, Gu Qingshan replied. His gaze turned towards the figure hovering in the air behind everyone. It was Xianya's soul. Xianya's expression had already warped as she heard that and hurriedly told him something. Yi Fei Li translated. She begs you not to kill her child, she's willing to tell you a secret. Chapter 1104. You have a secret you want to tell me? Is it to protect your child's life? Gu Qingshan asked. Xianya hurriedly nodded. Gu Qingshan waved his hand dismissively and said, Don't tell me that secret just yet, I actually want you to know my decision first. He looked at her and sincerely said, I won't kill your child, no matter what secret you tell me, this will not change. Xianya froze, then slowly understood. If I tell her the secret, after that, everything Gu Qingshan does will seem like she was only willing to do it because she obtained the secret. But now, Gu Qingshan has made a decision ahead of time. This way, the two of them would no longer be exchanging secrets for lives. Exchanging secrets for lives is actually a type of trade. To put it bluntly, it's a form of threat and coercion. When the secret was right in front of him, this man very sharply noticed it. This was actually a very subtle matter, so most people wouldn't care too much about it and would only choose to listen to the secret first. Xianya looked at Gu Qingshan with a complicated expression. This man isn't willing to use threats and coercion to decide the life and death of his child. Then, why is this man telling me the contents of his conversations with the previous kings in front of me? Not allowing her to think any further, Gu Qingshan had already begun to explain. Xianya, I want you to understand something first. We don't just kill anyone, he slowly continued. If we need to rely on the life of a 3-year-old child to solve our problem, it would only prove one thing. We are a bunch of useless trash. Boss, what do you think? Boss scoffed and replied. You're too long-winded, that's how it is. Gu Qingshan's gaze fell onto Zhang Yongho. Zhang Yongho cleared his throat. There are 3 things that my Hitman Guild doesn't kill: pregnant women, children, and elderly people. Gu Qingshan turned to Lola. Lola smiled sweetly. Whoever Gu Qingshan says to kill, that person is an enemy of the Bramble Bird Kingdom. Gu Qingshan looked at Yi Fei Li. Yi Fei Li took out a can and gave it to Boss, then said, When we're in a group fight, I actually prefer to play a support role, because that's a role that really tests my control. I don't really like killing people right now, unless I'm wearing a mask. Gu Qingshan's gaze returned to Xianya and slowly said, As you can see, we don't like to threaten others, and we won't kill your child. We just want to make a friend, not a passerby who can be abandoned after using each other. After a moment of silence, Xianya said something else. Yi Fei Li translated. She said, Have you always been this stupid? Pfft. As he spoke, he couldn't help but laugh. Stupid? Everyone looked at Gu Qingshan with a strange look in their eyes. Gu Qingshan didn't change his expression at all and sincerely said, In truth, I've killed countless people, more than all of your kings combined. I'm quite similar to Ing Hao, both of us are passionate about killing. Gu Qingshan drew the earth sword from the void of space and stared at the blade. A faint killing intent exuded from both him and the sword. Gu Qingshan continued. To put it simply, those who truly use swords are basically the same as me. Hearing that, Xianyu appeared a bit confused. Those who truly use swords? Gu Qingshan continued. The sword is split into two blades, one for killing and the other for saving. Under my sword, none of those who deserve to die shall live, and none of those who deserve to be saved shall die. Even if they die, they shall be brought back to life. Saying so, Gu Qingshan held the sword and lightly bowed to Xianyu. Very soon, I will revive you. I hope that you will be able to stand on our side in future battles. If you see me killing people like flies in the future, please be mentally prepared. Xianyu stared at him in shock for a long while before she managed to speak. Yi Fei translated. In truth, when you helped her take care of her child, she already felt that you could be trusted, but she was worried that you would be too kind, so she couldn't make up her mind. Kind. Everyone once again looked at Gu Qingshan with strange looks. Gu Qingshan glared at them. Everyone regained their senses and turned to Xianyu. What kind of eyes does this woman have? Everyone silently thought. However, Lola slightly nodded in agreement. Seeing that Gu Qingshan didn't seem to want to say anything else, Xianyu continued. Yi Fei translated. She asked if the golden ring that belonged to the king is in your hands. It is, Lola hurriedly replied. She returned the ring to Gu Qingshan with a strange blush on her face. Back in the God of Life's ruin, when Gu Qingshan had to temporarily leave, she gave this ring to her. Now it had been returned intact. Xianyu stared at the golden ring and seemed to sigh in relief. She nodded and continued. She said that she now understands who you are, and has also made up her mind to face this battle together with you, hoping to make a final stand for all the demis of Calming Soul Country. How do we do that? Gu Qingshan asked. She said that there are a total of 4 rings in Calming Soul Country. One is the King's Ring, the other 3 are the Ring of Protection. When these 4 rings are gathered together, they will be able to command all demis from the Soul Dong. Gu Qingshan could hear her own heartbeat. This is a true secret. Gu Qingshan quickly realized and asked. The 4 fake gods were originally demis, so they are also within the scope of command? That is correct. She said that you now have a king's ring and a ring of protection, so as long as you find the other 2 rings, you will be able to command them to give you what you want. The 4 gods don't care about this, because if the royal family and the guardians touch them, the monsters will definitely come for revenge. That's why this method can only be used once. Gu Qingshan smiled and replied. Once is enough. If I can really command the 4 gods, collecting all the water god tablets would be a simple matter. Gu Qingshan exchanged glances with the others, feeling like they finally saw a glimmer of hope. Regaining his composure, Gu Qingshan forced himself to calm down. He asked Xianyu, at noon today, the coronation ceremony for the new king will be held, so will the 4 gods really appear at this time? Xianyu nodded and told him. Yi Fei translated for him. She said that the 4 gods will never gather together, unless it's an extremely special occasion. This time, because the royal family has basically been wiped out, leaving only the last of their bloodline, the 4 gods will definitely appear at the same time to host the coronation ceremony for the new king. Because of that, this will be the only chance to meet the 4 gods. While listening, Gu Qingshan slowly nodded. Thank you for your information. Your secret is extremely crucial to us, he sincerely said. Xianyu appeared hesitant to say something, but in the end, she gritted her teeth and said something. With how sharp of a person Gu Qingshan was, she didn't wait for Yi Fei's translation and immediately said, Don't worry, I will definitely guarantee your child's safety. No, she hopes that you can save all the demis of Calming Soul Country, Yi Fei continued. Although it's unreasonable for her to ask you for such a favor, the demis are innocent, so she hopes that you can save them all. Gu Qingshan appeared troubled and said, It won't be easy to save so many people, and the demis have always been kept in the dark and don't know anything. At the very least, they need a leader to cooperate with me, Xianyu simply replied. Yi Fei continued. She asked if you can really resurrect her. Gu Qingshan used her inner sight to scan her thought sea, only to see the heaven sword trembling slightly inside. Luo Bingli had just woken up and was yawning. Gu Qingshan silently apologized to Luo Bingli in her mind, then replied, "Yes, I can resurrect her." Xianya nodded, then told her something else. Yi Fei Li appeared surprised and translated. She said that the prince is only 3 years old, not yet a minor. According to the kingdom's laws, his immediate family must take his place as the ruler. She has always been in contact with the other 2 guardians, getting along very well with each other. She said that in this world of calming soul country, the demis have all heard about the guardians and know that there are guardians in the kingdom, but no one knows who they are. She said that she is a guardian, as well as the king's mother. As long as she stands up, she will be supported. She is willing to become the regent of calming soul country. She will lead all the demis and fight alongside us. Chapter 1105. A lazy female voice called out, "I'm finally asleep." "Wait a minute!" Gu Qingshan immediately shouted. "HM? What is it? Is there an enemy?" Luo Bingli asked. Gu Qingshan replied, "Luo Bingli, I have a very serious question to ask you. You must answer me honestly. Ask away. Please tell me, what is your greatest dream?" Luo Bingli answered without hesitation. "Dream? Of course it's not sleeping." Gu Qingshan froze. He adjusted his facial expression to make his smile more sincere. Then he continued with a calm and emotional tone. "Please think about it carefully. Within the infinite worlds, there are many more interesting places than the primordial heaven realm. You must have something you want to do more than that." Luo Bingli carefully thought about it and replied, "That's true, there are many interesting things within the infinite worlds. I want to take a stroll around, go shopping or something like that." Gu Qingshan clapped her hands and happily asked, "Why do you want to go shopping?" Luo Bingli couldn't help but feel happy as well and replied, "Of course it's to buy things. Nice clothes, interesting toys, as well as delicious food." Gu Qingshan's expression changed and raised a finger. "But right now, we're facing a very serious problem." "What problem? Do we need to fight?" "No, it's just that I don't have enough money. I still have a lot of spirit stones here." "Spirit stones won't do. Within the infinite worlds, we need a common currency." Luo Bingli hesitated and muttered. Then, Gu Qingshan continued, "To solve this problem, I've specifically accepted a quest." Luo Bingli blankly asked, "What kind of quest?" "Take a look, there's a wandering soul outside. She is this world's royal regent, possessing unparalleled wealth. She can grant us an uncountable amount of common currency, so that when you go shopping from now on, you'll never run out of money." "That good?" "Gu Qingshan, you actually found such a backer." Gu Qingshan immediately said, "I'm actually not interested in money, but considering that you need it, I came all the way here to find this Prince Regent." Luo Bingli was slightly moved and said, "You have the heart. I've always been very attentive to my own people. You don't have to worry about this." Gu Qingshan said, trying to keep her face. Luo Bingli was confused and asked, "But why would she give us money?" "Also, I remember that it is difficult for ghosts to communicate with people. How did she rule the country?" Gu Qingshan slapped her thigh and said excitedly, "So this is our chance to get rich." Luo Bingli, "You mean, yes, we need to resurrect her." Hearing this, Luo Bingli didn't say anything and just looked at him. His face was stiff with excitement as he looked at Luo Bingli. A moment of silence. Luo Bingli asked, "Don't tell me you've already prepared the next person you want to resurrect." "Absolutely not, this was only a coincidence," Gu Qingshan immediately guaranteed. "I swear that the next time you wake up, I won't let you sleep again. I'll let you walk around the streets for 10 days first." Luo Bingli casually asked, "Walk around for 10 days first? And then?" Gu Qingshan felt a sense of danger, so her tone changed and smiled apologetically. "Of course we'll go to another world, we'll still walk around for 10 days, and then?" We'll go to another world, we'll still walk around for 10 days. And then? We'll go to another world, we'll still walk around for 10 days. I swear that I won't ask you to sleep again during this period of time. Hearing the word swear, Luo Bingli's expression became a bit better. Cultivators are different from other professions. As soon as they make a vow, they'll immediately be bound by it. If they go against their vow, they'll definitely be chased by the heaven and earth. It's a very bitter life. That's why most people don't make vows. This time, since Gu Qingshan was willing to swear, it meant that she was telling the truth. Sleep, 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 you only know how to make me sleep. I'll remember your vow this time. Gu Qingshan patted her chest. Of course, after this, I guarantee that you'll be able to go out and play the next time you wake up. Money and time won't be an issue. I won't sleep again. Luo Bingli calmed down, then sighed. All right, I'll sleep for another 10 days. The heaven sword swung. Xianya opened her eyes and stood up. I really did come back to life. She carefully sensed her current state and confirmed it. To be able to revive the dead, could it be that you're a god? Xianya doubtfully looked at Gu Qingshan. You're overthinking it. This is the power of the sword in my hand. Saying so, Gu Qingshan put the heaven sword away. Everyone began to discuss the next step of their plan. Gu Qingshan said, What we need to do now is to collect the other 2 rings of the protectors. Do we need to act? Boss asked. Xianya replied, There's no need. In truth, the other 2 protectors are very close to me, and we're on the same side. We're going to look for them now. As long as they stand on our side, our chances of victory will be much greater, Zhang Yongho said. That is, if they don't stand on your side. Xianya paused briefly, then resolutely said, Then I won't stop you, but you have to remember, their divine skills are all very powerful. You have to end this battle as soon as possible. Everyone nodded in agreement. Zhang Yongho looked up at the sky and said, It's getting closer and closer to noon. We need to hurry. An hour later. In a secluded smithy, Xianya and Yi Feili found the protector. The blacksmith looked at Xianya and narrowed his eyes. That's impossible, you're already dead. This was a hidden protector. Dinu, it really is me. Xianya walked forward and used a familiar code to converse with him. After a while, the blacksmith was still in disbelief and muttered, My God, I've never seen a dead person come back to life before. Xianya replied, I'm the same, but I didn't come to talk to you about that. As you know, my child is about to be crowned, the blacksmith replied. That's right, the coronation ceremony is about to begin. I was just about to sneak into the royal palace to protect your child. Wait a minute, I have some new information to tell you. Xianya quickly explained what happened and invited him to join her side. The blacksmith thought for a bit, then happily agreed. Very well, since you're a protector as well as the king's mother, you naturally have the right to be the regent. Finally, someone came to help the king. I was still worried. Then let's go and look for Greyhound, Xianya said. Greyhound was the other protector. Very well, let's go, the blacksmith called Dinu said. As the 3 of them were about to set off again, Yi Feili, who had been silent all this time, suddenly asked, Your Excellency, will you pledge your loyalty to the regent from now on? Of course, Xianya is our comrade. We share the same beliefs. She is worthy of our protection, the protector solemnly replied. Dinu. Xianya was moved. Yi Feili also slowly stopped and gave the blacksmith a thumbs up. I really respect people like you, Yi Feili praised. The protector smiled and was about to say something when he felt someone tapping his shoulder. Lightning thaumaturgy, a dream jolt. The protector instantly froze. A sword appeared from the void of space and lightly tapped the protector's head. The protector fell to the ground. From the void of space, Lola put her flower umbrella away. She, Gu Qingshan, Zhang Yongho, and Boss all appeared together. Why did you send out a signal? Zhang Yongho asked. Because when I asked him a question, he was lying, Yi Feili replied. He explained further. When a person lies, their soul will feel a slight sense of unease. If I can hear these faint noises, I'll know that they're lying. Everyone nodded. Earlier, when they were testing each other's strength, Yi Fei had already displayed this ability of his. Lola curiously asked, "Does everyone's soul feel unease when they lie?" "No, those evil souls will laugh joyfully," Yi Fei replied. Gu Qingshan sighed emotionally. "Ever since I entered the 900 million world layers, there have been many times when I've been surrounded by a group of people, acting like they're ready to fight, and there's even a specialist to judge whether I'm telling the truth or not. This time, it's finally my turn to have someone to help me judge other people's lies." He crouched down and placed his hand on the blacksmith's forehead. Soul reading activate. Chapter 1106. Gu Qingshan raised her hand and muttered, "How troublesome, what's the situation?" Yi Fei asked. Gu Qingshan replied, 3 hours ago, he swore his loyalty to the previous kings." Everyone was shocked. "If that's the case, the previous kings don't trust you," Zhang Yongho commented. "I would be surprised if they trusted me. Compared to me, the kingdom's protectors are naturally more trustworthy," Gu Qingshan replied. "Oh no, I wonder how Greyhound is doing," Xianya said. Indeed, if the previous kings found a protector, they would naturally find another protector. The kings were doing everything they could to ensure that the child would die at the hands of the god of life. The situation was becoming more and more grim. Gu Qingshan said, "We're going to the next protector right now." Xianya pointed at the blacksmith and asked, "What about him?" Gu Qingshan took the blacksmith's ring off her finger and said, "To avoid alerting them, let's keep him unconscious for now." "That's easy," Lola replied. She took out a 2-meter-long coffin and tossed the man inside. Legendary item: Sleeping Beauty's barrier coffin. After lying inside, as long as you're not kissed, you'll remain asleep. Lola patted the coffin lid and boasted. Zhang Yongho looked at the blacksmith's appearance and muttered, "I think he won't wake up." The group quickly packed up and quickly left this place. They hurried as fast as they could and soon arrived at a restaurant. Lola opened her flower umbrella and instantly disappeared with Gu Qingshan's group. Just like last time, Xianya brought Yi Fei inside. After just a few words, Yi Fei noticed that the other party was lying and quickly gave the signal. The other protector also collapsed on the ground. After reading his soul, Gu Qingshan looked at Lola. "What is it?" Lola asked. "Can I have another coffin of Sleeping Beauty?" Gu Qingshan asked. "There's only one of those things," Lola said. "Fine, let them sleep together. Won't that reduce the effect of the coffin?" "No," Lola said with difficulty. "That's fine." Gu Qingshan removed the protector's ring and threw him into the coffin. Although the place was a little narrow, the two guardians could still lie down with their arms around each other. Lola was about to activate the barrier to close the coffin when Zhang Yongho suddenly said, "Wait a moment." "What?" Lola didn't understand. "What if they kiss each other? Won't they wake up?" Zhang Yongho asked. Everyone thought about it and it seemed to be the case. Zhang Yongho walked forward and adjusted the positions of the two guardians, ensuring that they could only kiss each other's feet at most. Then, he overlapped a part of their bodies according to their figures, making perfect use of the space inside the coffin. There shouldn't be any problems now." Zhang Yongho satisfyingly lifted the coffin lid and closed it up. "Meticulous," Boss praised. "Thorough," Yi Fei praised. "Meticulous," Lola praised. "Meticulous," Gu Qingshan praised. Xianya. She suddenly recalled the first time she met these people. She had thought that they were just a bunch of impromptu mobs. But at this moment, she deeply felt that this group of people was really a group of terrifying fellows. Xianya calmed herself down and asked, "Then, since we've obtained all of the rings, shouldn't we summon the ministers, the army, and the civilians to fight against the past kings and the monster?" Gu Qingshan replied, "No, when the past kings met with me in secret yesterday, they invited me to meet them in the royal palace after the coronation. Are you really going to cooperate with them and act during the coronation ceremony?" Xianya asked. Gu Qingshan shook her head. That's not the case at all, but there's a very simple logic to this. Over 100 million years ago, not even the old gods could kill that monster. With our group and all the demis, we're stronger than the old gods? Xianya was surprised. The others also fell into thought. Zhang Yongho pondered. We really can't win against that monster. Now we should call it the God of Life, Boss continued. Not only does it have the power of the monster, it also has the knowledge and experience of the God of Life. Even within the infinite worlds, it would most likely be undefeatable, Yi Feili asked. Then, are we going to surrender? Gu Qingshan turned to Lola and asked, Do you have any more of the gift you gave Lin last time? A gift for Lin? You mean a mirror world? Lola thought for a bit, then said in surprise. I do have a few more, but none of them are as good as the others. When Lola met Lin for the first time, she gave her a mirror world. That world wasn't very big, only 5 million square kilometers in area. It was the Golden Coast. It was managed by 5 top gourmets, 7 hairstylists, 15 jewelry designers, 24 technologists, and 36 fashion designers of the 900 million world layers. They could summon these experts to do anything they wanted. It's fine as long as we have them, Gu Qingshan replied. Now, there are only 2 questions left. Boss, back in the Bramble Bird Kingdom, you once displayed a reverse summoning technique, Boss nodded. Gu Qingshan continued. I want to know if there are any limitations to your summoning technique? Boss replied. There are, but I can only summon 10 people to my side at a time at most. Gu Qingshan reached her hand out and said, Come, give me a reverse covenant. Boss nodded. Got it. A dark red flame appeared in his hand, drew a circle in the void of space, then quickly filled it with flame runes. This was a unique summoning formation made of devil flame. Catch, Boss told Gu Qingshan. The dark flame formation was lightly pushed by him and floated towards Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan caught it. The dark flame formation abruptly disappeared, while Boss's book of prophesized destinies automatically flipped open and stopped on a certain page. This page depicted Gu Qingshan's appearance. There, Boss nodded. I can summon you to my side at any time. Gu Qingshan then looked at Xianya, then asked, What about you? I remember your divine skill is called Fearless Teleportation, right? That's right, at the time, because the king knew that I could use this divine skill. He sent me to the secret passage to receive you, Xianya replied. Gu Qingshan said, I remember you saying that this divine skill of yours allows you to teleport to any place you want to go. That's right, Xianya replied. Are there any limitations? Gu Qingshan asked. Only 10 people at most, and I must have focused my thoughts at that place, Xianya replied. Very well, we can begin the battle now. Gu Qingshan clapped her hands and began to circulate her spirit energy. Lola hurriedly said, Wait a minute, Gu Qingshan, we can't win against that monster. You still haven't told us how to fight. Gu Qingshan activated her sword seal. The earth sword appeared from the void of space next to him. Don't worry, I'll tell you in a bit. The earth sword flashed and flew into the sky. Everyone watched as the flying sword disappeared into the deep blue sky, gradually disappearing from their sight. Gu Qingshan patted Yi Feili's shoulder and said, Distribute the drinks. Got it. Yi Feili began to distribute the drinks to everyone. At this point, Gu Qingshan began to quickly assign the tasks of the battle. Yi Feili will be responsible for observing any movements. The mirror world and the ship will also be left to you. At the same time, make sure to support us. Got it, Yi Feili replied. Yinghao, are you familiar with your spear yet? Gu Qingshan asked again. Almost. After all, it had only just woken up. We're still getting used to it. At a crucial moment, you'll have to snipe it. That's easy, Zhang Yongho nodded. Xianya, I'll give you the ring later. You'll need to use the power of the demis. Lola, you'll be following us and coordinate with us at all times. Got it, Xianya replied. Got it, Lola replied. Gu Qingshan then turned to Boss. Boss, come with me to kill the 4 deities. I'll create a chance for you. Don't worry, my flames of nihility is more than enough to kill them, Boss replied. Wait a minute, Jang Young-ho couldn't help but cut Gu Qing-shan off and asked. The previous kings are still plotting to kill the god of life in their palace, the 4 deities are waiting for the coronation ceremony to begin, the god of life should also be hiding nearby the palace. How exactly do you plan to break out of this situation? Gu Qing-shan replied. It's simple, that's where they've been plotting against each other. If we just charge in like this, we'll be forced into a passive position, so, they'll have their own plans, while we'll create a new situation and regain the initiative. As soon as she said so, everyone couldn't help but look up. Deep in the sky, a streak of light was howling as it descended towards the ground. The Earth Sword. The Earth Sword was about to descend with the power to destroy everything. Jang Young-ho couldn't help but ask, Brother, I know your swordsmanship is top-notch, but what are you trying to do? Nothing much, I'm just trying to create a bit of chaos, Gu Qing-shan casually replied. From afar, the Earth Sword crashed into the ground like a meteor. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.